There's a shot right here.
Okay. Try it. Yeah.
Fix it back. Something minor. Just gotta unscrew it and see how the wire probably loose in it. Same thing.
Might as well put you in Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem for the open prayers. Or for the blessing of the Sabbath. Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Athalanawa, Hashabath, Bashalawam, Fawada, Amen. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the Sabbath of peace. Thank you, so be it. Taha'ai Ma'ad Asherai Makad, Psalm 121. Anya Harayim Ayanyam Ya O Haharayim Mayan Yabu'a Isaiah Yabu'a Mayahawa Shai Shemayim Wa'arataza La'a Yanathan Lamawat Regalia Yala'a Yanawam Shashamarka Hana La'a Yanawam Wala'a Yayashun Shashwama Yasharella Yahweh Shamaya Yahweh Tazalia Ayam Yad Yam Yin Ya Yawamam Hashamash La'a Hakaya Wayarat La'a Balayala Yahweh Yashamaya Makon Ra Yashamar Napasha Yahweh Yashamar Hawalakia Wabawa Ayah Ma'aithai I Willam Basham Yahweh so what Amen.
Psalm 121. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help comes from the Lord which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, even forevermore. Amen.
Amen. Shema Yasharella, hear, O Israel. Shema Yasharella, Yahweh, Allah Yahweh, Shema Yasharella, Yahweh, Allah Yahweh, Shema Yasharella, Yahweh, Allah Yahweh,
Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one Lord. Amen.
Zapala Yahweh, the Lord's Prayer. Abiyanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwatka, Saba'ah, Ratazawanka, Haya, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Ka, Bashamayim, Bethalanawa, Lakam, Yawum, Za, Wasalaklanawa, Kababwathnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kababwathnawa, Wala'a, Habiyanawa, O, Nasaiwan, Abo, Hawashinawa, Mara, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha'ala, Watha Pa'ara, La'aiwalam, Amen.
Matthew 6:9. After this manner, therefore, pray ye, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever.
Amen. Ha'aishira Natazawaf, the Ten Commandments. La'a, Yahaya, Laka, Alahayim, Akarim, Alpanya, La'a, Thaisha, Laka, Paso, Wala'a, Thaibadam, La'a, Alakwaka, Shamwa, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Lashua, Zakar, Af, Hayawum, Hashabath, Lakodashwa, Kabad, Abiyaka, Wa Amaka, La'a, Zaratazak, La'a, Zana'ap, La'a, Zaganab, La'a, Za'ina, Shakur, La'a, Zakamad, Ko, Ashura, Lara'ayaka, Aman.
Exodus 20:2. I am the Lord thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me, and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that take of his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy power giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Amen.
Amen. Shabbat, be seated. Barakatha Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Ashura, Nathalanawa, Par Yahagapin, Tawada Aman, La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Ath Yasha Allah. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. Madwa Panua Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem for the opening prayers. Barakatha Yahweh, Hagadol, Rakawam, Abiyah, Wanara'ah, Alayawan, Malak, Shal, Shamayim, Wa'aratazah, Wakol, Dabarium, Kayayam, Wagam, Hamashiach, Mayahawa, Adawanawa, Ahabnawa, Apalah, Yawaitazah, Yahushai. Zakar Nawa, Yahweh, Baratazawan, Ainka, Yasha'Allah, Izar Nawa, Bana, Wasap, Yasha'Allah, O, Nawa, Yum Yum, Aitha, Kayawamyam, Makwadam, Baba Kusha, Shalat, Mayaka'Allah, Wahatazawadat, Alahayim, La, Magunnawa, Rapanawa, Washamar, I don't know. Ba'ikwo, Shalat, Harokan, Shal, Yahweh Shai, Lanawa, Lalamadnawa, Rabiam, Kakama, Tabawana, Wada'ith, Shal, Debarka, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Thawada, Thamyad, Wa'iwalam, Aman. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth, and all things living, and also the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, the wonderful counselor, Yahweh Shai. Remember us, Yahweh, favorably, your people, Israel. Help us build and gather Israel, most high, we beg you, right now like the days of old. Please send Michael and the righteous powers to protect us, heal us, and watch over us. Mainly send the spirit of Yahweh Shai to us to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you always and forever. So be it. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the law. Barakatha Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Athalanawa, Hathawarah. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us light to see. Barakatha Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Athalanawa, Awar, Larawah. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the ram's horn to call the people. Barakatha Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Athalanawa, Koran, Ha'ayol, Lakorah, Ha'ain. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the olive oil to anoint Israel. Barakatha Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Athalanawa, Hasheman, Zayat, Lamashak, Yasha'Allah. Yeshua, be seated. right, Shalom, Shalom, Ashar Shabbat, happy Sabbath to the brothers and sisters throughout the nation of Israel. Today is a day of rest, the Most High's seventh-day Sabbath, that we're commanded to rest from all of our labors, our pleasures, gather together, whether physically here at the school in Philadelphia at Germantown Avenue, or either on your telephones where you could dial in or watching on a live stream. We say again, peace and blessings to all the brothers and sisters that are all tuned in to the Most High right now, by Hashem Yahweh Shah, on his day. I am Kahan Samak, which Samak means in the Hebrew, means support. I will be presiding over the Sabbath service today. But as we always do, we want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High Power, Yahweh, who reigns over the heavens and the earth, who is the one that's given us this day our breath, which is the law, statutes, and commandments, that allows us to stand before the world and exonerate the Most High, proclaim his essence, and to teach this truth. So, as we always do, we make a disclaimer that, this truth, this Bible, this knowledge is intended for the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Even though it's broadcast to the world, it is intended for the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, who, when you read the scriptures, we're known as the lost sheep of the house of Israel, right? We've been scattered throughout the four corners. We lost our identity, lost our knowledge. And in these last days, the Most High has raised up through the Spirit righteous men and women to now not only follow in his will, but also go and teach and guide others and exhort us into the way that the Most High commanded our forefathers that we should walk. So this is why we come on Sabbath service as other camps you may see out throughout YouTube. Go out, do street ministry. We hold classes on Tuesdays and Fridays. Others also may hold their own classes in their homes, at their workplace, schools, so forth and so on, to get this truth out, because this is the building before the hunting season comes in, as it talks about in Ezekiel the 9th chapter, verses 4 down to 6, right? But Hayashala Kanas, we pride ourselves in trying to execute Nehemiah 8:8 by going through the precepts distinctly and bringing out the sense, so that the readers or the listeners can understand what we're reading, and not like to do it where you see in secular churches where, they just read things and put their own spirit. We like to bring precepts to kind of combine like-minded thoughts from the prophets to convey the Most High's message. So that's what we do throughout the scriptures on each Sabbath day. We go through the New Testament, Old Testament, and then also in the hidden books known as the Apocrypha, which we're going to be into today. But before we get into that, I wanted to just make note that, as we're getting into the winter seasons, I know Kahan made a mention of it. We're going to try to the best of our ability. We wanted to get a little early, start the Sabbath service start a little bit early, so that we can go through as much of the precepts expeditiously but judiciously, so that we can get out. Sound like T.I. for a minute. So that we can get out to camp and also have enough time before the sun sets, because the sun clock has gone back. So we want to make sure we have enough time during the Sabbath to go out and teach. So we'll be trying to get a little bit earlier on the Sabbath services, as well as getting through them within a watch, which is about 3 hours or less, so that we can go out and do some street ministry. Before we begin today's Sabbath service lesson, I wanted to read this in Ezekiel the 37th chapter. Elder Zaquan usually starts off his services where he goes through the montage of showing you all the different tribes, what they look like, so you can identify who your neighbor is according to the scriptures. When I say neighbor, I'm talking about your Hebrew man or Hebrew woman that comes out of the lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? That's when the Most High says that your neighbor is, as it pertains to who you should love. Sure, there's other neighbors in context as the other nations, but the neighbor that Christ is speaking about, you love your neighbor as yourself, is speaking about those who are as a Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman. But I wanted to read this in Ezekiel the 37th chapter. Ezekiel the 37th chapter, verse 16 down to 23. Again, this is Ezekiel, not Hebrews, Ezekiel 37 chapter, verses 16 down to 23.
Genesis. Give me Genesis.
Bear with me 1 second. All right, so this is Ezekiel 37 and 16. It says, "Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions." Because at this time, we know that going through the kings from Solomon's reign, the kingdom was split. Israel was split into two kingdoms, right? You had the southern kingdom, which was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, and then you had the northern kingdom, which was Joseph or Ephraim, which was the head tribe, and then all of the rest of the tribes. So they were split, right? So now the Most High is showing us that this is prophetic, that in the last days, he's now taking those two divided kingdoms and then needing to bring them back into one stick, right? Nabia, if you can get me the sign for the 12 tribe shot. It says in verse 17, "And join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand." So you had a stick or a plank, right? So sometimes you may see when you go out different camps, you'll see the brothers will have a sign on in front of the camp, right? It's either on a wooden board or something like that, that looks similar to this, right? Where it has the northern kingdom, the southern kingdom that was mentioned under Judah, and then it has the northern kingdom, which starts from Ephraim, right? So you see Judah here and then Ephraim here. They now need to be combined into one stick. So you'll see them either on a wooden stand or whatever, that now as you go out to teach, people can go look at this stick. Now on the stick, you'll see the Hebrew names, but it also have the modern day names there, right? So that people can look and say, well, I don't know what that name is, but this is where I fall under. So now as you continue reading in verse 18, it says, "And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, Wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these?" So when they look at the sign like this, they're like, what is this talking about? Right? I see me there, but what does this all mean? So now we are obligated to go and give the sense. To say, listen, you call yourself by Puerto Rican, or you call yourself by Haitian, or you call yourself Mexican. According to the Bible, according to the Most High, this is your ancestry. These are all your brothers according to one nation under the Most High God, right? And then you need to start expounding upon what different precepts expound upon who's who and what happened to us throughout the diaspora to where we are today. So now you're going to have people, and this is what happens throughout not just the United States, throughout different countries, where brothers are out teaching and they have a stick or a plank, and it's on like a wooden board that this may be hanging on. And as people walk by, they see it and they question. So the Most High, through the Spirit, had Ezekiel see this vision, and now ended off with, will thou not show us thou what meanest by these? So now they're going to ask the question, what does this all mean? And then sometimes you're going to have the heathen that's going to come by and see this stick and say, what is this talking about? Am I not on here? Where am I? And then we have another stick or another sign that expounds upon who they are according to the Most High. But this is geared to Israel. Verse 19, "Say unto them, Thus saith Yahweh power, Behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand." Right? So it's just like when you read in Revelations, the first chapter, when it was talking about Yahushua had the stars all in his hand, right? At that point, it was talking about the bishops or the leaders over Israel, right? But now the Most High is going to have the whole nation joined into one stick in his hand. It's not going to be divided anymore. We're not going to have envy over, Ephraim going to envy Simeon and Judah's going to envy. That shouldn't be happening in these last days. So the Lord put the spirit on Ezekiel to see the vision of what's transpiring right now. Verse 20, and the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. So that's where it says, when you write the stick, you got to write these names on there, and it shall be in front of them so that they can see it, right? Because Israel, we're visual people. So that's why sometimes Elder will have that montage showing you, here's the tribe of Simeon. This is what they look like. Here's Issachar. Here's what they look like. Here's Levi. So that you now know and say, okay, that's who's who according to the truth, right? It says now, reading on, verse 21, and say unto them, thus saith the Yahweh power, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and I will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. So now we are not just divided and scattered in our minds, but we are divided and scattered physically, geographically, right? So now the Most High has to have this word go out in different areas so that everyone that's in these different areas can see that stick and see if they're on that stick. And then now us, the teachers, we have to be even more discernment to now find out who is it that's looking at these sticks. Because sometimes on the surface, like Christ said in St. John, I think it's 7:24, judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Meaning you now have to go now and ask questions to find out who their ancestor is. Go back to 3 or 4 generations, like it tells us in Exodus, the 20th chapter, and the 3rd and 4th verse, so we can figure out if this person does come out of this line. If we make a mistake, the Most High Spirit is going to now begin to separate and weed out those who should not be a part of that stick. But we still have a responsibility to now do our due diligence to make sure that the word is going out clear with clarity so that the person who's listening can receive it and then make a righteous decision. Now, verse 22, and I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel. So now the Lord is letting you know how the children of Israel is going to get back into their own land, right? So this is not even just edification for us. It's even for the world, because now when you look at how things have transpired in these last days, how the imposters have gotten into that land, it wasn't by this, right? Where's the history of them now joining sticks, joining all the different tribes together before they got back to that land? There's no history of that. You just see them coming off planes, right? So now when we read and we expound upon these things, we say, hold on. That has to be fulfilled. Where did that prophecy get fulfilled, where the 2 sticks of the two kingdoms, all those tribes joined together, became one? Who, tell me, within these nations, what tribe is there? Is it in Ukraine? What tribe is Issachar over there? What tribe is Levi over there? They can't do that, right? Because the Spirit is not rolling with them, because they're not the real people. So this is how things have to now transpire for us, or has been transpiring for us in these last days. I'm going to read 22 again. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all. And they shall be no more 2 nations, neither shall they be divided into 2 kingdoms anymore at all. So when we read in Hebrews, the 8th chapter and the 8th verse on down, how the Lord said that he was going to make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, right? This is the last days. The Lord is prophesying about that new covenant, but the fulfillment will be, there will be no more 2. It will be one stick. It will be one nation. It will be one kingdom as it was before. It'll be like that during the time of Christ's return. Last verse. Neither shall they defile themselves anymore with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions. But I will save them out of all their dwelling places, wherein they have sinned, and I will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their power. Right? So all our transgressions, the Most High, for those who are going to be willing participants, meaning they're going to want to keep the law, the Most High will now cleanse us spiritually as much as we desire to now apply the precepts. So these things is what we are now seeing transpiring or happen in the last days. Now, we just had the election this week, and I thought it was Wednesday, but it was I think it was Wednesday where I saw what's her name? Kamala's speech. And like every other president before them, Kahan, give me Deuteronomy 17 real quick. Like every other president before them, they all have to abide by the same rule. Most times we're ignorant to or blinded to think that they're going to cater to man's needs or desires or wants, right? But they fail to realize where every president that steps up there, that gets sworn in, has to uphold the Constitution, right? And that's what Kamala said in her speech. She says we have to be loyal to the Constitution, right? So now if you're loyal to the Constitution and you go and look at what the Constitution says, how is that something that you now champion, right? And we know, especially for those of us who was brought here, there was some discrepancies. I don't even call them discrepancies because they intended to have those things in there. That was a direct attack against us, right? As a people here in the Americas. So the Most High said certain things in the law that we had to abide by. Go to Deuteronomy 17, verse Deuteronomy 17. I'm not going to read 15 because we know 15 is very clear that we're not supposed to have or choose another nation over us to be a king, right? You can't have somebody else that's going to be of another nation set up over you, right? You don't have that happen in China. You don't have that happen in Saudi Arabia. You don't have that happen outside of the country. Now, someone will say, well, we're a melting pot, right? We're a melting pot. There's so many of us, we're all here. But still, the Most High's constitution or law dictates how we operate, right? Wherever we at. It didn't say where you're in a specific land. It says wherever you are throughout all your habitations. So, Kahan, if you can read Deuteronomy 17 and 18.
Deuteronomy 17 and verse 18. And it shall be when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book out of that which is before the priests, the Levites.
So now it says, and it shall be when you do choose a king or a ruler or someone to be over you, right? It says he, which is masculine. It doesn't say she. There's no option for a woman to now usurp authority over all the people, right? But most times we don't really think about what the Most High cares for. We think about what man cares for. They've now put a lot of different tools and imagery and visions. When I say visions, I mean different movies and storylines and interviews and things to now make your mind or your judgment clouded so that you can follow what they want you to believe. But here it was always supposed to be someone who's a male factor. Now, whether they, abide by that truth, one can say, yeah, they never really want to have a woman sit on the throne. America ain't ready for a woman to sit on the throne. That's fine. But now let's just say it was Ephraimite or it was Judite that was running for president, right? Everybody can go say, yeah, we're going to go out and vote for him. Now we're going to go out. I want to see if those Israelites is going to go out there and vote for him because they said, oh, we got to be somebody from your own people. The Most High even provides more clarity. Read on. Read that again.
Verse 18. And it shall be when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book out of that which is before the priests, the Levite.
Right. So now you have to have a copy of this law, right? This law now has to be presented to that king. For what purpose? Read on.
And it shall be with him, and it shall be read therein all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord his God, to keep all the words of this law and these statutes, to do them.
Right. So now they're supposed to read and keep these laws and push them throughout the nation so that everyone else abides by the Most High's rule. So that means when that person that's now in authority gets elected or selected, they're supposed to now rule based on this authority, right? If not, then you're going to have another law that's going to come in, right? I may mention this, we were talking during this week where during Obama's reign, that's where all the genderism things came in, right? Because they didn't follow this law. Old and New Testament speaks about now giving you over to your own lusts and desires because you don't want to follow this. But man doesn't really trust the Most High because, like we said in the class, the Most High has been removed from work, schools, families, church, right? The Most High, the true power has been removed from these things. So when you take out the Most High, when you take out the Most High's law, you have to now put something else in its place, right? And that's man's law. That's why Christ said in Matthew, the 7th chapter, Mark, the 7th chapter and the 7th verse, that we worship or follow him and the Most High in vain, teaching for doctrine the commandments of men, right? Men's doctrines now usurp the Most High's doctrine. And that's what we vote for. That's what we uphold. So you're going to put somebody in authority or in a position that's now not following the Most High's law. They're going to go and make their own laws, right? You going to see something?
Right. I was going to say, based on that scripture we read, it shows that the scriptures are not a religious book. It is more like a government book or a kingdom book that we use, right? Or the king of Israel or the men of Israel should learn. Just like you have congressmen supposed to be watching, they're supposed to be the watchdog to see if the president will abide by what is written in the Constitution of the United States. So it's like the watchdog that's watching him, make sure that he's following the Constitution.
Right.
So that's pretty much what the scripture is for the children of Israel, for the men of Israel, to learn it and to apply it. And that's what was imposed on the king of Israel.
Exactly. Right. We've been reading in the past few months, we was going into the books of the kings, and we've seen where the kings that was established or selected or, based on their lineage, when the king died, the son reigned in his stead, he was always observing to see how this king was going to rule, if he was going to be evil or if he was going to be righteous based on the Most High's law, right? To see if he was going to uphold them. Right. We know that in today's setup, they are forced or obligated to uphold their law and not the Most High's law, right? So now we as a people, right, of course, all Israelites, we should be clear on that. It shouldn't be something that we are confused or whatever. But for those who are not, right, go to the book of Psalms chapter 40. Psalms chapter 40. Hopefully I only take another 10 minutes on this. We can get into the sermon. Psalms chapter 40 and verse 4. Which reads, it says, "Blessed is that man that maketh the Lord his trust, and respecteth not the proud, nor such as turn aside to lies," right? Because you either put your trust in the Most High and not in man, or you're going to look at the proud of those who are esteemed as, individuals that's being lifted up that promote lies. I always used to make, when this time come around and pertains to politics, I revert back to my remedial studies when I was in high school and elementary school, where you had math and you had polygons, right? A polygon is an object that has many sides, right? What made it many was the word poly, right? So poly's root word, the etymology is many. Then you had a tick, right? A tick is what? A bloodsucker, right? So you have many blood suckers that's in that realm, and all they do is promote lies and prey on the people. They suck the life or the blood out of people. False hopes, right? But many people turn aside to these lies, right? Oh, we're going to go and do this. Every elected president or candidate all gets up there and gives you all this dreams and wish lists, and they don't come to fruition, right? People make jokes about this border or whatever the case may be, right? These are a lot of lies, but people put their trust in these things. And what happens when you put your trust in man, you're going to be let down, because the Most High is not like man. What the Lord says he's going to do, he's going to fulfill it. But man usually always goes back on their word. They'll say one thing and then they'll do another, right? So we have to make sure that we don't fall victim to putting all in all in man. Go to Jeremiah chapter 17. Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 5. Jeremiah 17 and 5 says, thus saith Yahweh, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, whose heart departed from the power, or from the Most High, right? So when you put your trust, your faith, your hopes, your desires in man, right, it says that's going to be a curse unto you, right? I was watching the speech, and I seen all them people crying, boo-hoo, not like tears is coming down because the speech was so riveting, it was moving. No, crying because that person didn't get elected and all their hopes and dreams went down the toilet, right? Because they made their flesh their arm or their strength. That's what that's talking about, right? It says, for he shall be like the heath in the desert, meaning wasteland, right? That person is going to be like spiritually wasted. That's what the heath is. Uncultivated land is just out there, barren land in the desert, and shall not see when good cometh, but shall inherit the parched places in the wilderness, in a salt land and not inhabited, right? Salt land is like where you can't grow crops, you can't do anything, meaning you're never going to be able to yield any fruit, right? When you continually put your trust, your desires in that which is not of the Most High, that's what's going to happen, right? Verse 7, blessed is the man that trusteth in Yahweh, and whose hope the Lord is. For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and shall spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of the drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit, right? So that you're going to be plenteous because your faith, your hopes is in the Most High, right? There's plenty of scriptures that go into in Psalms 118. Don't put your trust in princes, or put your confidence in man, or confidence in princes, because we know that true power, true will comes from the Lord, right? When you're reading the Apocrypha, and I think it's Ecclesiasticus, when it talks about the physician, right? That we should not disregard the physician, but the Most High gave us the physician. But even in that, before you go see the physician, you're supposed to go to the Most High first and pray to the Most High. Then when you go to the physician, you'll hope that the Most High will work through the physician. But the physician himself is supposed to go to the Most High. That's why what we read in Deuteronomy, the 17th chapter, was key, because whoever is put up as an authority figure has to now follow the will of the Most High, right? Samat, I'm sitting here, I'm now supposed to be the teacher or Kahan over the people. I have to now be following the will of the Most High. Have to, right? Or else I'll be a hypocrite. I'll be like the heath. I'll be all these other things. So the Most High has it in spirit where we're supposed to now not trust in what's going on with man, what's going on in society, because the judgment is already written, that we should now come and worship the Most High in spirit and truth, and follow and wait patiently upon the true King that's going to come. All right. So there's a lot of other scriptures I wanted to get into with that, but like I said, for the process of time, I wanted to go through the precepts so we can get out to camp a little bit later. But before we do, I want to give our salutations. Shalom, Akwath Andrea Watson. Shalom, thanks for joining. Shalom, Lab Tuwab and Akwath Emma. Shalom, thanks for joining. Shalom, listen with your mind. All praises. Shalom, Aliyah Aina. All praises. Shalom Yahab, all praises. Shalom Elijah Moses. Shalom. And he gives salutations to you too, Aliyah Aina. And also Shalom Elder Zakwamalat and Akwath Rabakwa Malakah. Shalom. To those who haven't made any salutations, peace and blessings to you all, as well as those that may be listening on the teleconference line. I say Shalom again. Happy Sabbath. Shalom, Sister Janice Smith. All praises to the Most High Yahweh Shah. So, Gabriel. Shalom Gabara, Shalom a warrior, and others that will be joining. So today's Sabbath service lesson, as we mentioned, will be in Wisdom of Solomon, chapters 3 and 4. So this is a continuation from 1 and 2, where it goes into the righteous and the ungodly, right? The righteous are the nation of Israel, right? Because the Most High has separated us and made us righteous according to his law. And I think it's the first 4 or 5 chapters in Wisdom of Solomon goes to that disparity between the nation of Israel, those who keep the law, those who walk in his commandments, and how the heathen or the ungodly view us, right? The things that they see or they try to do to us because we are separated from everyone else. And even in these last days, we have it with some of our people also are now converted into being the ungodly by being tempted or persuaded or seduced to now follow after the other nations. So this is what's now continuing on in the storyline of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3 and 4, and I think it goes also through 5. But we're going to read verse 3 and 1. It says, but the souls of the righteous are in the hand of God, and there shall no torment touch them, right? So it says the souls of the righteous are in the hand of God. Now, what makes us righteous? Go to Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter. Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter, and the 24th verse. Deuteronomy 6 and 24. So it says, and the Lord commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahweh our power, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our power, as he hath commanded us, right? So when we're walking in the commandments, when we're doing his will, then we are now the righteous. That's what makes us the righteous, right? It's the commandments of the Most High and the applications of doing the commandments. So now we now put that spiritually on or within us, so that when we walk out into society, we are walking testimony to the Lord. Go to Job chapter 29. Job chapter 29. And verse 14. So it says, I put on righteousness and it clothed me. My judgment was as a robe and a diadem, right? So when he says he put on righteousness, meaning he applied the commandments, right? So it was covering his spirit. It was covering his spirit. So all of his thoughts, his decisions, right, were based off of the precepts that's within the law. So that's what now makes us the righteous. So when it says, but the righteous are, you know, that it's speaking about that nation that now is applying the commandments. You could also write down Psalms 147, 19 and 20, because everyone was not given that law to now have as to be their righteousness. Psalms 147, 19 and 20. And peace and blessings to all those who are also newly watching us. Psalms 147, verse 19 and 20. That says, he showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any nation, meaning the law that was given to Moses to get to that one nation, Israel, that he showed and expounded upon, he have not dealt so in like manner with any other nation. And it says, and as for his judgments, they have not known them, right? They're not been given the mysteries. They haven't been given the breakdowns. They haven't been sent. The angels didn't come to them to deliver them or do certain things or prophesy, give visions. That was only for the nation of Israel. So based on the precepts, there's only one nation that can be accounted for the righteous, because the Most High has not dealt so with any other people other than Israel, right? Same thing in Amos, the 3rd chapter, verses 1 and 2, right? You only have I known of all the families of the earth. That's what the Lord says. And when it talks about known, meaning they're the only ones that he gave the law, right? That doesn't mean that he knew of them. Matter of fact, let me read that and I see your hand, Con. Amos, the 3rd chapter. We get a lot of flack. A lot of times people think that we're being biased. The scriptures are general, but we're being biased based on us saying that the Most High is only for Israel, that he only loves Israel, that he's only coming to redeem Israel. They think it's just a personal thing. But here in the scriptures, the Most High is very explicit on how he feels. This is Amos 3 and 1. Hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only, right, have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities, right? Now, when it says, have I known of all the families of the earth, does that mean that the Most High doesn't know his other creations? Like literally, he didn't know the people of Ammon. He didn't know Ham. He didn't know Japheth. Like they're just there and he has no idea of who they are? No, right? When they're talking about you only have I known, it's talking about you only did I separate and give my law to, right? Let's prove that. Go to 1 John. 1 John chapter 2. First John chapter 2 and verse 4. It says, he that saith, I know him, and keepeth not his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. So knowing or knowledge has to come or pertain to the law, right? It pertains to the law and now the application of the law between the Most High and the nation of Israel. So the Most High saying that he knows Israel and only Israel means the Most High only delivered his will to one people on the planet Earth to separate them, make them holy, and make them righteous, right? So when you read about the righteous all throughout the Bible, it's only speaking or pertaining to one people. Thus saith the Lord, right? Go ahead.
Right. I was going to say, it shows that the law, the scriptures is spiritual. And when you look at the world, like as we're reading this, most of us listening to this, we pretty much get it. But those who are not enlightened or the Most High have not been given the spirit or the understanding, they cannot understand this. We already live according to some sort of constitution. Like, for example, in the United States, you have the law, you have their own constitution, as you bring it up. Like when we read Psalm 147, 19 and 20, it all makes sense. The Constitution of the United States pertains to citizens of the United States. You cannot take the Constitution of the United States and give it to the Chinese, right? You cannot take the Constitution of the United States and give it to France. It pertains to the people of United States. So it's pretty much the same thing with the Bible. It's pertained to the nation of Israel, but it's not for other people. But even though it's simple, but because we lost our identity, we don't know who we are. We easily manipulated. Now we've been given over, and that's how we're in captivity. So because we don't understand the simple things. Right?
And I will go even further as far as for the Constitution for the citizens of the United States, because the Constitution, remember, was erected around the 1700s. Right at that point, society was different. Right? Society had a different look. And it wasn't really for all people that was within the United States. It was for one ruling party that was within the United States. And that was supposed to govern and dictate how they dealt with everybody else. That's why when you read in certain portions of their laws where it talks about how they viewed us as not a full individual, right? Two parts of the whole they deemed was not in us, right? And now based on that rule being put there, they dealt with us accordingly. So it wasn't even for everybody. Right. Today, we ignorantly think it's for everybody, but initially, the inception was not for everybody. Right. Just like when you look at our law in the scriptures, this law was given to Israel. Right. It wasn't given to Moab. It wasn't given to Ammon. It wasn't for their benefit, for their righteousness, it was for our righteousness. So in our law, we can give them bad meat. We can put usury upon them. We can do these things because it was meant for us. Right.
Even to your point. We have provision how to deal with the other nation in our constitution.
Right.
Just like they have provision how to deal with us. You know, you 3/5 of a man, in order for you to sign, to vote, we got to vote you, you know, that's the provision that they have for us in their constitution.
Exactly.
So I don't see, I mean, I see it, but it's like when we don't have the spirit of understanding, it's hard for people to see these things that's what we already practicing and apply it to the scriptures the same way.
Right. That's 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 3 and 4. But if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are blinded. Right. So the good news, right? That's what the gospel is. The good news, right? In the Old Testament, it says good tidings, same things, right? That was for the deliverance of the redemption for the nation. But right now, people don't see a deliverance, not that type of deliverance. They're looking for another deliverance. Taxes. Taxes are going to be cut. That's going to help deliver us. Right, we're going to get new laws. It's going to probably give us. When we was marching for reparations, it was about giving us 3 states in the United States, giving us our actual acre and a mule, or how many 40 acres and a mule. That is going to be our deliverance. But they don't see what the Most High has for deliverance or redemption in the scriptures. So the good news is not the good news. So let's go back to Wisdom of Solomon. Good news is not the good news to them, I should say. So, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, verse 1. It says, but the souls of the righteous are in the hand of the power, and there shall no torment touch them. Meaning, the plagues that set up for the evildoers, the sinners, the Most High is not going to have those plagues touch them. Same thing when we was in the land of Egypt, and the Most High sent the 10 plagues. Right, we was in the land of Goshen, and none of those plagues came where Israel was dwelling, in our dwelling place. The frogs, the lice, the plague where the Most High turned all the drinking water into blood. Like none of that happened in our location. So now, because the Most High was going to deliver us as a whole, now in these last days, the righteous is not the whole of the nation of Israel. It's going to be that 1/3 with the 144. Right. So when these plagues, these torments, judgments begin hitting the earth, the Most High is going to protect us to not allow those things to happen. We just got to have that faith. Right. We got to have that faith. I seen this week where, on social media, people in various different universities is getting a text message about them preparing themselves to go back and start picking cotton. Right. From various different universities, not just HBCUs, but Clemson and all these different universities. Everybody get all the so-called black students, right? The minorities is getting these now that the election is over and Trump's come back. Get yourself ready to go start picking cotton, right? And what happens? Fear starts settling. Oh man, I'm afraid. I don't know what we're going to do. We got to go get some guns and we got to go get this. Having weapons and things is cool, but if you don't have the Most High, it shows you no point, no purpose. Right, that's what we learned during the times of the Maccabees, with Judas Maccabees, where when they went out to war on several occasions, they didn't put their trust in their weapons; they put their trust in the Most High. Because you can have a nice, who was out there at the range, you can have a nice AR or whatever type gun, and then you go to shoot and it jammed. It jammed. Then what? Now all your hopes is gone. Now your heart's gonna melt because what you thought was gonna deliver you ain't gonna deliver you now. It's the Most High. So that's why it says, the souls of the righteous are in the hand of the power, and there shall no torment touch them. It says, in the sight of the unwise, they seem to die, and their destruction is taken for misery. And they're going from us to be utter destruction, but they are in peace, right? So for those of us who here still living, for those of us who have died in Christ, right? Most people will look at our walk and what we do and think that our separation is for nothing, for naught, right? They don't see the promises that the Most High has in store for us, especially in these last days where we have so many different types of temptations and things that surround us to now try to get us off the straight and narrow. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 4. 1 Corinthians chapter 4. And verse 9, right? So you'll have people who will look and ask, what are you dealing with? What's that? What's the name of that school? What's the name of that church? Right? Y'all don't keep Christmas? Y'all don't do this? What do y'all do? Man, I don't know about that. What are you talking about? I don't know. That's some new stuff. That's some stuff I ain't never heard about before. Now it's so prevalent. That was 20, 30 years ago. Now it's to the point where now you just have all type of slander and things that's out there about this truth or about anyone who's trying to apply the Bible. But now Paul said this in 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 9. He says, for I think that the power has set forth us, the apostles, last, as it were appointed to death. For we are made a spectacle unto the world and to angels and to men. So now by us doing this work in these last days, is as it was as if it was appointed to death. Because now everybody is watching us, right? Everybody is now either watching for our reward or watching for our downfall. The angels is watching us, right? To see who's going to commit to the Most High's will. Man is watching us to either put stumbling blocks or to just wait and see if they're going to continue in this. I ain't talking about he now a man of God. Give him 3 months. He'd be out there back on the block with us. He'd be back at the strip club with us, right? Now everybody is observing us, putting all different types of things in front of us to see us fall. So it says in verse 10, we are fools for Christ's sake, but ye are wise in Christ. We are weak, but ye are strong. Ye are honorable, but we are despised. Even unto this present hour, we both hunger and thirst and naked and are buffeted and have no certain dwelling place, and labor, working with our own hands. Being reviled, we bless. Being persecuted, we suffer it. Being defamed, we entreat. We are made as the filth of the world and are the offscoring of all things unto this day, right? So that now prepares your mind that these are some of the things that we may have to be, that we have to go through and be looked at as, right? But it's not for you to be afraid and run away. Paul says, I write not these things to shame you, right? You ain't got to be ashamed. You ain't got to be embarrassed, right? It says, but as my beloved sons, I warn you, right? So it is now a warning to prepare your minds and your spirit of what the battle, what the tribulation, what that sacrifice is going to be like, right? So that you don't walk into it with blind eyes and then get caught off guard. That's how some people, that's how a lot of the people are in the world. They don't know. Everybody's worrying about, oh, I don't know. We'll see what's going to happen come January when he actually gets in office. He says he's going to deport all the foreigners and the immigrants. I don't know if he's going to deport me. We talk about this in class. A lot of people's afraid, right? Because their trust is in man, right? Whatever the Most High's will is, that's the Most High's will, right? You got to trust the Most High that wherever you are in, whatever thing's going on, the Most High is going to be there for you. Quiet.
Right. Verse 9 also, just want to say this. When we read verse 9, it says, we are made a spectacle unto the world and to angels and to men. For example, if you look at how when we go out there, we speak about issues that's going on. We speak about what the government are doing. We pretty much put them on Front Street. And people look at us, who are these guys? They're about to get killed. Because they look at us as people who don't have protection, because we not in the government. We don't have any personal securities watching us. It's like, yeah, watch. don't be surprised if you hear that, he gets shot, or somebody kill him or something like that, or what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when we read the scriptures, they live and well into what we're doing. But if you just read them in passing, you're not gonna get the true understanding of what is really being said in the scripture.
Right. So going back to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3 and verse 3, it says, and they're going from us to be utter destruction, but they are in peace, right? So it appears that they're going down a road of destruction. They're in some type of a cult. They're in some type of, witchcraft nonsense, right? They ain't like all the rest of the churches, but they're going away from us to be utter destruction. That's their perspective. That's their view about those righteous. But it tells you, go to Psalms 119. Psalms 119. And verse 165. Okay. So Psalms 119, verse 165 says, great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend them. Right? So great peace have those that walk in these commandments. Right? Nothing should offend you or affect you to steer away from this truth. Right? But if you don't love the Most High's law, meaning you like it, right? There's a difference between like and love, right? You got to love the Most High's law, right? There's certain aspects of the law where you just like it, where, it's like being in a world where you like somebody, right? You like somebody and, you observing them and you going on, dates, you going here. But if they do something that piss you off, you can easily just detach yourself from it. Say, I ain't walking with that person no more. But now when it's somebody you love, it's a bit harder to separate yourself from that, right? Where in this truth, you should love the Most High and never want to be separated. And then if somebody comes and questions your love for the law, just like in the world, when you love somebody, your parents come and say, you really want to be with him? You really want to be? Yes, I love him. And they land us and you sticking by their side. That's how you would be in this truth. Then you would have great peace, right? So there's even levels to this peace. So when it talked about that in verse 4, about they're going away from us, but they are in peace, this is where you get your peace. You got to love the Most High. You got to love this law, right? And loving the law, the promises that's set before us. The judgment, what's to come, right? Elder put, was it Tuesday night or Wednesday morning? I can't remember. He posted it in the group chat, the image or the gift of the stars falling from heaven, right? Most of us already knew what that meant, right? Hey, man, this guy is crazy, right? Trump is crazy. He's about to set a whirlwind course, and it might be that during this presidency, it's going to cause the exact thing that the Most High prophesied about the Third World War, right? It's supposed to happen. Let it be now. Why would you delay it, right? And what's going to happen after that? Our deliverance, our resurrection, coming back to our homeland, being in the presence of Christ and the angels. Our bodies change, our minds change, right? If somebody came to you today and said, listen, I could change your whole mind, right? Make you one with the Most High. Change your body, right? Well, you don't have illnesses and things of that nature. You got to worry about the pains and the sufferings or the things that you don't even know about that's going on inside your body. You don't have to worry about that. Sign me up. Sign me up. Right? Everybody be signed up. I'll be there. If the office open at 9, I'll be there at 7 o'clock. Right? I want to be first in line. So why delay it? Right? So you got to love this law, love this will, love these prophecies, and anticipate its execution.
Reset. John 16, 32 and 33.
St. John chapter 16, verse 32 to 33.
And it reads, behold, the hour cometh, yea, is now come, that ye shall be scattered, every man to his own, and shall leave me alone. And yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. So this is Christ when he was going through his situation, right? And he was in the world. He tests every system, every government in the world. You overcome them. But at that point, when he get to the last minute, everybody was walking with him, they left. So now he felt like, man, but he advised them, listen, even though you see everybody just turn their back on me, now I'm in the fight all by myself, but I'm not by myself, because the Most High got me, right? And in verse 33, he says, these things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. So when you look at what we do, what we keep the laws of the Most High, it's opposite to what people do in the world. So now, and you still in physically living in the world. Like all the burden and all these things sometimes kind of like trying to get to you. Like, man, well, it seems like they're having fun, but I'm in the law. I mean, it's not the same. You would love to have your family with you when you're keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, but they're not into that, right? But they in the world. So now, when we look at this, we see that the whole world is us against the world, and it's a heavy burden on us at times. So that's why Yahweh shall warn us. I went through this. I went to the whole 9 yard. I beat it. Just use me as an example, because you're gonna be going through the same situation.
Fun. So let's go back. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, go on for that, and verse 4 now. It says, for though they be punished in the sight of men, yet is their hope full of immortality, right? So though we go through various different trials and tribulations, our hope is that we're going to receive the promises that the Most High has promised us, which is immortality. Never be able to sin anymore. Our bodies don't deteriorate and wither away with all different types of diseases and infections and things. Verse 5, and having been a little chastised, they shall be greatly rewarded. For the power proved them and found them worthy for himself, right? So it says, having been a little chastised, right? A little bit of chastisement for this nation, which when you look at all the different, from the time when this was written to now all the way we are today, all those different captivities, right? We focus even just on the 400 years in America, but you go back during the times of the Greeks, going back to the times of the Romans, going back to the Babylon, there's a lot of chastisements that we have undergone, right? That we went through. Death, right? A lot of murders that was very volatile, right? Like I always say, as far as for chopping babies' heads off and playing kickball with them, that's in their reports. You imagine you're a parent or a mother, you're observing that, and you seeing that they just being haphazard with the carcass of a child and then killing you, right? This is a little chastisement for our transgressions that we have gone through. And it says little because the kingdom is supposed to go on for how long? Forever. So when you look back at what we've gone through compared to what you gain, it's described as just a little bit, because it's never going to separate itself from the kingdom of Israel anymore, right? We're always going to be dwelling in the space of the Most High. But here it says a little chastisement that we've undergone. Go to 1 Thessalonians. 1 Thessalonians chapter 3. I'm going to start from verse 1. So 1 Thessalonians 3:1, it says, wherefore, when we could no longer forbear, we thought it good to be left at Athens alone, and sent Timotheus, our brother and minister of the power, and our fellow laborer in the gospel of Yahushua Mashiach, or the anointed, to establish you and to comfort you concerning your faith, that no man should be moved by these afflictions. For yourselves know that we are appointed thereunto, right? So as it states here, a little chastised, we have been appointed to go through certain things, right? Whether mental, physical, right? All of it, the Most High has every man or every individual sister to now go through certain things that's going to prove them, right? So Paul said, hey, I'm going to send these brothers or this brother to you to establish your faith, that you don't be moved or shaken, right? That you prepare yourself that these things have to happen, right? Before we can get to the end, before we can get the kingdom, the Most High has to prove a person, right? Same thing where you prove friends, right? Through adversity, you prove a friend. When something's going wrong, you see how they're going to help you. If they're going to leave you at your most disparate time. But now when things is up, oh, they right there. Right then and there, you know, when the going gets bad, man, this person ain't for real, right? So the Most High is the same way. He's like, listen, I'm going to put them in a situation where I want to see if they're going to stick with me even through this little trial right here. If they say, oh, no, I can't do that because I'm doing this, or I love the Most High too much, then prove that's a good soldier. That's a good servant. That's a good daughter of mine. Right? That's what the Lord is looking at, folks. So we all are appointed to go through various trials. And sometimes it could be either to our hurt, right? It could be either something that may be detrimental, that may harm us, like you see in the Apocrypha with the woman who had the 7 sons and they were killed for not eating swine's flesh, and her herself, right? That is meant to prove you. You may say, Dad, that's a harsh way to prove, because they had to lose their lives to not eat swine's flesh. There was no other way of doing. That's a terrible power that you're talking about there. I ain't know God was like that. I thought he was all love, right? They had to lose their life. What kind of God is that? But even them, when you read that story in the Maccabees, they knew that they would be raised. They could be raised right back up at that point, or they knew they're going to come back in the regeneration in the last days anyway. Right? They were not like the ungodly who thought that their lives was only for a matter of time, only for a vapor, and that's it. No, they knew that they was going to be able to come back if they stood tall in this truth. The Most High would reward them. That's how we got to prepare our minds.
Right. That reminds me of he that loses his life for my sake shall gain it. Right?
Right.
And precept, Proverbs 4:23.
Proverbs 4:23. So like whoever just dialed in, shalom, shalom. If you could mute your line, we do hear some feedback.
Oh, go again.
Proverbs 4:23. And it reads, Proverbs 4:23 reads, keep thine heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Like everything that we are describing here, whether it's ailment, whether it seems like torturous, whether it seems like something that's way heavy on you, it's all have one objective: to get to your spirit, get you to change your spirit from being with the Most High to the other side. That's pretty much the end result of whatever you're going through. It could be a sickness, it could be a disease, it could be any situation that comes to tempt you has one objective: to get you to your mind. So that's why you got to keep your mind, keep your spirit on the Most High. Always come back to the scripture and see how to deal with whatever situation, because that's the objective.
Go ahead.
I think it's Matthew 10:39. You said earlier.
Matthew, Matthew 10:39, the one that says that he that loves his life for my sake shall gain it.
Yeah, that's in one of my places.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty much that's it.
Let's go back and finish up in 1 Thessalonians chapter 3, And verse 3 again, it says that no man should be moved by these afflictions, for yourselves know that we are appointed thereunto. Verse 4, for verily when we were with you, we told you before that we should suffer tribulation, even as it came to pass, and you know, right? So we already let you know that we was going to go through some things, and you've seen it happen. Verse 5, for this cause, when I could no longer forbear, I sent to know your faith, lest by some means the tempter have tempted you, and our labor be in vain. Right? So he sent brothers to go and exhort them in the faith. Peradventure, if he didn't, and he delayed, and then someone there to get them, to keep them in check, that another spirit would then come and then cause them to now follow after different doctrines, or follow after a different God, or get lazy or slothful and not do the will of the Father.
And it could be sometimes it's far removed. Sometimes you're not even thinking about it. Something happened that's isolated. Then the point is to get you to start thinking differently about how you view life, right, about how you view God, about how you think of things. And you may not even think of it, that situation as that, but that's exactly what that situation is. Even though it may not seem that way, but the end result of that is to get you to start thinking differently about how you view the Most High.
Right. Now remember, because it says in Wisdom of Solomon that having been a little chastised, they should be greatly rewarded. So the brothers, was always trying to exhort and keep the church, keep the congregation, the brotherhood, sisterhood on point to weather the storm, because there's something greater that's going to come. Go to Hebrews chapter 10. Hebrews chapter 10. And verse 32. So Hebrews chapter 10, verse 32, it says, but call to remembrance the former days, in which after you were illuminated, ye endeavored a great fight of afflictions, right? So it says, remember when you were before, and after you were illuminated, right? So when we joke and say that we're the real Illuminati, right? Illuminated, or it means to be enlightened, or enlightened ones. Enlightened with what? The truth. So your old man, then you became illuminated, and then what happened? You started to go through certain afflictions, right? It says, partly whilst you were made a gazing stock, both by the reproaches and afflictions, right? So now these different types of afflictions, some came because people was now observing you and trying to set stumbling blocks in front of you, or you went through some various different types of temptations while you're going through these said afflictions. It says, and partly why ye became companions of them that was so used, right? So now, because you are now a part of this mix, now you're going through all these various different trials and tribulations. Verse 34, for ye had compassion of me and my bonds, and took joyfully the spoiling of your goods, knowing in yourselves that ye have in heaven a better and an enduring substance, right? So what happens at times, the things that was pleasurable to you before is not as pleasurable to you anymore, right? So you can, like Paul said, he cast those things aside, right? Put them in the back burner, right? This probably was my focus before I was illuminated. Now it's not as important to me, right? It's not as a treasure to me anymore, as much as this, the Most High's desires, is now what I focus more on. And now in doing this, I'm going through some afflictions with my family, some afflictions with my job, some afflictions with my neighbors, right? My neighbors is doing all kind of crazy stuff because they see I got the thing on the car, and they see the menorah, and like, who is this guy? Who does he think he is, right? And now the spirit is riling up in them, and it's causing them to do certain things, right? They're waiting to see my day. I'm a gazing stock to the people, right?
Link up to Hebrews 10 and 32.
Mm-hmm.
Ecclesiastes 1 and 18. Ecclesiastes 1 and 18. And mind you, write these scriptures down because there's a lot of link ups, but it's the service, so we try to go as fast, like Kahan said. But how do you say that word? Judiciously.
Judiciously, yes. Expeditiously, but judiciously.
Kind.
Like I said, that sound like T.I.
Kind. For in much wisdom, it is much grief. And he that increaseth knowledge increaseth in sorrow. So when you become illuminated, right, with knowledge, then come much grief. Right? It's like now you went from level 1, now you are at level 10, expect a big level, temptation. Right? But you already passed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like you mentioned, and now that's not even your concern because now you're elevated. But don't think that you're done. Now the heavier affliction is gonna come upon you.
Right. Shalom. Say hallelujah, hallelujah. Kun, sign me up. Yeah, you don't want to wait 2 years again. You want it right now. So I see Elder posted a precept, Isaiah 54:7. For a small moment have I forsaken thee, but with great mercies will I gather thee. Right. So the Most High has left us to our own because of our own transgressions, where he's not immediately coming and saving us right now because he has a day of judgment that he's going to come and save us in the end. Right. So come the water for that. So let's go back to Hebrews 10:33, last verse here. It says, cast not away, therefore, your confidence, which have great recompense of a reward. Right? So don't despise, right, your confidence, meaning your confidence in this truth, your hope in this truth, the understanding that you have. Don't cast that aside. Right? Sometimes sometimes you take for granted what this is, right? Just say I'm an Israelite, or you got the nice garment with the fringes on, right? A lot of times people take that for granted and cast away their confidence, right? And they get a little slack, a little slothful. It happens to the best of us, but the exhortation that the brothers did to remind us to get back on the good foot. Sometimes that happens. Iron sharpeneth iron. So when this brother or sister is feeling weak or slothful or doubting a bit, someone comes in to reaffirm. Make sure you stay on point, brother. Don't go that way, sis. Come with me. Come rest over here. Come do this to make sure that you stay in line, right? Go to Hebrews chapter 12. Hebrews chapter 12. And verse 8. Again, our little chastisement lead to a great reward. It says in Hebrews 12:8, but if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons, right? So if you don't get the chastisement, the correction, tribulation, the trials to try you, then you're not really a part of this, right? You're like a bastard, someone who doesn't have a father, right? Someone who's orphaned, right? The other nations is like orphaned. They don't have the Most High, right? So even those that's the part of the nation of Israel, if you are not going through certain things, then it's as if you are the Most High and dealing with you. Verse 9, furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh, which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? So your carnal parents, carnal father, reared you up, right? Gave you punishments, chastised you, gave you certain rules and things. And when you went against them, they either spanked your behind with the rod or they did some type of punishment to you to correct you, right? And we reverenced them. We gave them respect. Shouldn't we do that and so much more to the Most High, who's a Father of spirits? Verse 10, for they verily for a few days chasten us after their own pleasure, but he for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness, right? So they did it for their own pleasures, their own desires, right? They have an idea about what they want you to be, or what they would like for you to become, or the way in which they view you. That's for their own pleasure. But the Most High has it for our profit, for our holiness, for our reward. So those things that we now do, that the Lord says, I got to go and correct her. I got to jam her up right now, so she knows that that's not the way to go. I got to go jam him up, right? Let me buffet him. Let me send the spirit down there to go and buffet him to get him or her back on track, right? That's what the Most High will do. Verse 11. Now, no chastening for the present seem to be joyous. So right now, all the things that Israel is going through in this country, in the far off countries, it doesn't seem to be joyous. It didn't seem to be joyous for those who witnessed that woman and her sons get murdered, right? It says, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. So later on in the regeneration, right, or even in the resurrection, because sometimes the Most High can resurrect a person at that moment that they've gone through some type of an atrocity. But most times it'll be in the regeneration where the Lord will bring you back and you receive a reward at that time. Ultimately, it's talking about when Christ comes back, right? We're going to get a memorial or a good name that the Lord is going to have written in the book of life, right? It's going to be in the ledger of the great things he or she had done while he was still in this setup, right? So this is what we now have to prepare ourselves for, to make sure that we endure to the end. Lab 12, I always post that at the end of the Sabbath services, right? So now, go to 2 Corinthians chapter 4. Our light chastisement. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. And verse 16. 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 16. It says, for which cause we faint not, but though our outward man perish, yet the inward man is renewed day by day, right? So that old man, that old woman is supposed to be perishing, right? The things that you used to be about should now start falling away, right? Where you're not doing those things as much as you used to do, right? Especially those things that's not pleasing in the Most High sight, right? It says, yet the inward man is renewed day by day. Now, the reason why it says renewed, because even though this is our first time in this body, right? Now learning the truth, you already knew it before. You knew this in the previous life. So now this is renewing of your mind, right? It's renewing of this knowledge. I think John says that as well, not St. John, but in 1 John, as far as for that you knew this before, you knew this once before. So it's the same thing here, where we are being renewed to that righteous man or woman day by day. Verse 17, for our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. Same thing that same thing that in Wisdom of Solomon is saying, our light affliction, saying the same thing here. But it's going to get us to a far more weightier reward that even our heart can imagine at this point. Even though we read it in the scriptures, but until you be in that spot, in that place, you physically there with Yahweh Shah, you seeing David, you seeing the angels, that's on a whole nother level. Right? Because it's right in your face. You seeing the chariots, right? You seeing how the angels is able to command the chariots. And you're like, I get my own chariot? I get my own chariot? Oh man, this is heavy. I could move in chariots now? That's what the Esau shows you in some of these post-apocalyptic movies. How man is up in these chariots and moving around and doing certain things, going up off there. Where do you get that from? From the scriptures. They're reading it just like we're reading it, or they're listening to us break it down. They're like, yo, that's what's going to happen in the future. We're going to make movies and TV series out of it. Yes, these things are going to happen. Right? Just like how Esau, things that was out there in the 40s and 50s that they used to put in cartoons and things, what happened? It became reality. Like 70-80% of it became reality over time. Because the Most High put the spirit of man and moved him to now forecast what was going to happen, right? What was that cartoon that The Simpsons? They had all these different things in The Simpsons where they look back and like, yo, The Simpsons was talking about this 10 years ago, and look at us right now. Yes, exactly. So we know that these things is going to come. So it says in verse 18, while we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal, right? So we don't look at the temporal, the carnal. We're looking at the spiritual, which is the kingdom, right? Christ said the kingdom of heaven is within you. It don't come with observation, right? It is a spiritual thing that you now understand how the Lord wants us to operate and move with a positive energy and light every day, right?
It's kind of like, for example, when the Most High revealed things to John the Revelator and also other prophets in the past, it's almost like it takes you up there and take you to his movie theater, and then you're watching the movie, right? You're watching the movie before it comes live on Earth, and people playing it out. Is they show you everything that's gonna happen. Here's what this guy gonna do. Here's what this guy gonna do. It's like it's a movie that is being played nonstop, as you go along.
Right.
And you get to see a preview when the Most High, revealed to the prophet and take you up there and show you this, and then you come down here and say, man, that's what I saw in the movie. That's exactly what this guy doing down here.
Right.
Right. So then the Most High is great. So it's like you see the realization of what the Most High show you up there, and you watch it and you see everything being unfolded.
Good.
What's this link with the 2 Corinthians 4?
This goes with verse 5. Let's just say that out loud. Man, we got to be expeditious now. We're just on verse 5. We're already an hour and a half in, over an hour and a half, right? All right, so let's go back. Elder posted a precept here, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12, verse 2. Therefore chastenest thou them by little and little that offend, and warnest them by putting them in remembrance wherein they have offended, that leaving their own wickedness, they may believe on thee, O Lord. That's wow, beautiful, right? Could write down with that precept, 2 Maccabees, 2 Maccabees chapter 6. 2 Maccabees 6:12 to 16. 17. Again, 2 Maccabees chapter 6, verses 12 to 17 to go with the Wisdom of Solomon 12 and 2 and all the other different precepts that we just went through with verse 5. All right, let's go back. Verse 6. As gold in the furnace, and he tried them and received them as a burnt offering, right? So the Most High is going to try us through adversity. Like it says in Ecclesiasticus chapter 2 and verse 5, for gold is tried in the fire and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity, right? So that's how we're going to be tried. Like gold and silver, you put it into a fire to burn off all the impurities so you can have just that pure metal. The Most High puts us in adverse situations to prove us so that we can now make wise decisions based on the law and rid ourselves of that old man or the carnal man, right? So that's Ecclesiasticus chapter 2 and verse 5. You can write down 1 Peter's chapter 1 and verse 7 as well. 6 to 7. 1 Peter's chapter 1 verses 6 to 7 to go with Ecclesiasticus 2 and 5. Also, go to chapter 16 in Wisdom of Solomon. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 16 and verse 11. It's not the precept that I wanted. Bear with me 1 second. I thought it was Wisdom of Solomon. It might be Esdras.
What's it say?
Yes, it's Second Esdras, not Wisdom of Solomon. Second Esdras chapter 16. Second Esdras chapter 16 and verse 73. So in 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 73 says, Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. Right? So that's how you know. When you read up in this chapter, the Most High, Ezra, through the angel Uriel, the Most High is showing them how there's going to be a lot of atrocities happening around this time. Right. So when we were speaking about this a little earlier, when you look at so-called president-elect and what it might be on the horizon, right? Those things that's probably going to happen in the earth, right? The Most High will still look at us to see how we handle those situations so that we can be known amongst the nation, not only just amongst the nation, but to the Most High and the angels, to see if we're going to be his chosen, if we're going to be the elect. All right, so that's 2nd Ezra 16:73. Now let's go back. You could also write down Romans 12, 1 and 2. Right? Romans 12, 1 and 2, that we're supposed to make ourselves a living sacrifice. We're supposed to make ourselves like a burnt offering or living sacrifice to the Most High when you read Romans 12, 1 and 2. Right? Conform to the Most High's will, but make yourself a living sacrifice. All right. So now, back to Wisdom of Solomon, verse 6. Oh, verse 7. It says, And in the time of their visitation, they shall shine and run to and fro like sparks among the stubble. They shall judge the nations and have dominion over the people, and their Lord shall reign forever. Right? This goes into Daniel's, where it talks about and Israel shall take the kingdom and reign forever and ever. Was that 7? So again,
18.
7 and 18. Daniel chapter 7, verse 18. So Daniel 7:18, it says, But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Right? So that's the prophecy, that Israel is going to possess it forever. So all the prophets speak to the same thing, right? And we also going to reign with Christ. It speaks about that in the Old and New Testament. So it's just not going to be us by ourselves. It's going to be the King, the Lord, Yahushua, Mashiach shall reign over us. Even King David is also going to have a throne that he's going to reign over. Verse 9, back in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3 and 9. They that put their trust in him shall understand the truth, and such as be faithful in love shall abide with him. For grace and mercy is to his saints, and he hath care for his elect. Right? So those that put trust in him, you'll understand the truth. Right? So the understanding of the truth is the application of the Most High's laws. You have to be in, like I said, you got to be in it to win it, right? You got to be in it. You got to uphold the law. And once you begin to do it, then you understand, right? Go back to that saying, wax on, wax off. Unless you start waxing, you ain't going to know how to defend, right? You're not going to know how to stop those fiery darts unless you go through those motions. Right? And you go through the experiences and you learn from your mistakes and you perfect your mistakes, and then you'll grow in the truth.
Like any lawyers know, the more you practice, the more you go to court, the better you become at your craft.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's pretty much what it is with us. The more you practice, the more you keep the law, the more certain things become second nature. Now you can teach people how to do it.
Right. You can write down Psalms 119. Psalms 119 to go with those that put their trust in him shall understand the truth. Psalms 119 and verse 114. It's like 104. Psalms 119, verse 104, where it says, through thy precepts I get understanding. Therefore I hate every false way. Right? So how you get understanding? Through the precepts of the Most High, lining them up, applying them, right? Going through those experiences. And then once you are rooted in it, then you begin to hate every false way or lying or leasing. And then you begin to stand firm with the Most High. All right. So let's go back. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, and we have verse 10. It says, but the ungodly shall be punished according to their own imaginations, which have neglected the righteous and forsaken the law, forsaken the Lord, right? So their own imaginations is their idols, right? Setting up or establishing their own idols and doctrines, and the neglection or the persecution of the Most High's elect or righteousness or righteous, that the Lord is going to deal with them. For whoso despises wisdom and nurture, he is miserable, and their hope is in vain. Their labors unfruitful, and their works unprofitable. Their wives are foolish, and their children wicked. Their offspring is cursed. Wherefore, blessed is the barren that is undefiled, which have not known the sinful bed. She shall have fruit in the visitation of souls. So the Most High is saying, look, those who don't have this truth, who don't know this wisdom, who don't have understanding, it says they are despised. They are miserable people, right? They don't have true hope. They don't have understanding of the real promises of the Most High. The offspring that come from them are destined to be cursed because their outlook is carnal and worldly, right? It's not something that leads to the righteousness of the Most High. The Lord said it'd be better for you to not, what does it say here? It says, wherefore blessed is the barren that is undefiled. So if you don't have children, but you are a righteous individual, and you look or compare yourself to someone who has a whole brood of kids, and they're doctors and lawyers and this, that, and the third, but they're all wicked, right? It may appear on the surface that, that person is highly favored, right? And you are reproached because you don't have the same things. He said, nah. It's better to have been undefiled and barren than to be fruitful and wicked, right? It says, I'm going to read it again. Their offspring is cursed, wherefore blessed is the barren that is undefiled, which have not known the sinful bed. She shall have fruit. She shall have fruit in the visitation of souls, meaning they will have a reward. Right? The sinful bed is all different types of inanimate concupiscence or unlawful relationships that people have had, and they had the offspring of product. The Most High says they're going to have a visitation. They're going to have their reward in that day. Verse 14, and blessed is the eunuch, which with his hands have wrought no iniquity, nor imagine wicked things against the power. For unto him shall be given the special gift of faith, an inheritance in the temple of the Lord, more acceptable to his mind. Now, Khan, if you find that precept for me in the gospel, Yahushua spoke about the eunuchs. You had two eunuchs, one that was made a eunuch, and one that, meaning physically, and then one that was made himself a eunuch. Meaning like Paul made himself a eunuch. He wasn't castrated. He was one that just put so much effort into wanting to serve the Most High that he didn't have desires or care for a woman. But then you may have a man who wants to have a family, who desires to have a wife, but down due to the enemy or the heathen, he has now went and castrated him. And when you do that to a man, it just dehumanizes him, because he can now not be the fulfillment of a man in what we deem in a potential wife's eyes. He can never take a wife, right? So now he has to go and now dedicate himself to the Lord. But Yahushua speaks about that. You got that precept, Khan?
Yeah, Matthew 19, 10 to 12.
Matthew 19, you said 10 to 12?
Yeah.
The water. Matthew chapter 19 and verse 10. It says, his disciples saying to him being Yahushua, if the case of the man be so with his wife, it is not good to marry. But he said unto them, all men cannot receive this saying, save they to whom it is given. For there are some eunuchs which were so born from their mother's womb, and there are some eunuchs which were made eunuchs of men, and there be eunuchs which have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. He that is able to receive it, let him receive it. Right? So I said 2 is actually 3. Some are born from the womb where they have now some type of issue where they were born and they could not procreate. Right? Some issue or deficiency happened in the mother's womb and they were born that way. The same way a man was born blind. Right? Then there's others who were made eunuchs because of men, chopped off their rod. And there was others who still have their rod. They weren't born with any deficiencies, but just in the mind and the spirit, they made themselves eunuch. Yahushua said, he who is able to receive it, let him receive it, right? Because now why would somebody choose to be a eunuch, right? Because they want to dedicate themselves to the Lord. So when you now, that third one, where you choose to be a eunuch and you don't go and defile yourself with any wicked things, that's where the Lord says your righteousness is going to be greatly rewarded, right? So you can come into the truth at 30 years old, 50 years old, doesn't matter, because the Most High washes away all your past ignorances, your past transgressions. And now you say, you know what, from this moment forward, I'm going to just dedicate myself to the Most High, right? I don't have a wife. I don't want to go and look for that. I'm just going to stay the course and just do this work, right? He who's able to do that, Godspeed, right? Every man doesn't have that desire, right? Paul talks about that in 1 Corinthians 7 chapter. So let's go back to verse 14 again in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 3. It says, and blessed is the eunuch which with his hands have wrought no iniquity, meaning he didn't do any transgressions or anything wicked to the Most High, nor imagine wicked things against the power, right? He didn't lose faith and begin to curse the Lord or question God or doubt God. He didn't do those things. For unto him shall be given the special gift of faith and inheritance in the temple of the Lord, more acceptable to his mind. So he's not able, what you think you can probably receive is more than that. What you think the reward is going to be, the Lord is going to make it 2 or 3 or 5 times more in that day. Reading on verse 15. For glorious is the fruit of good labors, and the root of wisdom shall never fall away. As for the children of adulterers, they shall not come to their perfection, and the seed of an unrighteous bed shall be rooted out. Right? So when we go into marriage and the laws pertaining to marriage, and people disregard them and they want to follow their own way, they want to do things according to society or how they envision what the sanctity of marriage is, and they can just go out. The Lord says that is never going to be profitable, right? Because they have chosen to disregard correction, like it talks about in Proverbs, the 1st chapter. Wisdom cries out, right? But people turn their backs to wisdom. They turn their backs to the correction. So the Lord says he's going to laugh at your calamity when that time comes, right? You read about that in Proverbs chapter 1. Verse 17. For though they live long, yet they shall be nothing regarded, right? So though they prosper, what is that? Psalm 73, right? In the book of Psalms, the 73rd chapter, when it talks about how the wicked prosper, right? They have riches and money. People envy them, right? They live long. They have nice houses and all of that. It says here, for though they live long, yet shall they be nothing regarded, meaning their name is not going to be mentioned in the memorial of the saints, right? That's why when King Josiah was king, he went and stamped out all the wicked men that had sepulchres, that he didn't even want to leave them a name in the nation of Israel. He told the men, go take that down, man, stamp it to dust, And he had to go and say, who's that? And he said, oh, that's the man of the Lord. He said, all right, leave his sepulture there. Let his name stay there because he was a righteous individual. It's going to be the same thing and more so in the kingdom. Verse 18, or if they die quickly, right? Somebody may not live long, but they're wicked and they die suddenly, right? 20-something years old or whatever. They have no hope, neither comfort in the day of trial, right? The day of trial is talking about the day of the Lord, the day of judgment, when the Most High is going to resurrect all of those spirits. Go to the book of Daniel, chapter 12. Daniel chapter 12. And verse 1. Daniel 12 and 1, it says, and at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time, right? So there's going to be a time which we're in these last days that it's never going to be as treacherous as it's going to be when we see right before our deliverance. It says, and at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book, right? Every one that's found righteous, that has been keeping the law, during that time, they will be delivered. It says in verse 2, and many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life. So like we read in 1 Thessalonians, the 4th chapter, I think 17 on down, that the Lord is going to raise them up that died in Christ, right? They were in the third heaven, sleep. Some are going to be raised up in that last day. It says some to everlasting life to receive the reward, right? For standing firm. Then it says, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. So imagine you dying and you was living a long time doing all kind of craziness, or even if you was a short time, you was YOLO. You only live once, and you went out there and balled out, and then all of a sudden you died early. You're going to be raised back up in that last day to receive the judgment. The Father of spirits is going to judge your spirit for what you did in this lifetime, probably what you did in the previous lifetime, and the lifetime before that. It's all going to culminate to an everlasting contempt, like meaning that you're going to have a name that's going to stay with you forever. Oh, you was that guy that did that back then in the 15th generation. That was you. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, look, yeah, that was him. That was him. Same way we remember Daniel and Job and all these righteous men for what they did and what they overcame. There's going to be a contemptual name placed upon those, the 2/3 who did not overcome. Right?
That was idlewild.
Huh?
God forbid I was idlewild. I was a silversmith like that. God forbid, man.
Yeah. So let's go back. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3 and verse 18 again. It says, or if they die quickly, they have no hope, neither comfort in the day of trial. For horrible is the end of the unrighteous generation. Contempt, eternal contempt. That's what it talks about. That horrible is the end of the unrighteous generation. All right. Let's jump chapter 4, verse 1. Better it is to have no children, and to have virtue, for the memorial thereof is immortal, because it is known with Yahweh and with men. Right. So now it talks about having no children, comparing it with virtue. Right. So now how do you attain virtue? Go to Wisdom of Solomon chapter 8. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 8. And verse 7. So Wisdom of Solomon 8 and 7, it says, and if a man love righteousness, which pertains to the law, Her labors are virtues. So when you exercise the law, your works are your labors, right? The fruit that comes from that work or your labor is the virtues, right? Now, what are these virtues? It says, for she teacheth temperance and prudence, justice and fortitude, which are such things as men can have nothing more profitable in their life, right? Galatians, what is the 6th chapter, goes into other virtues, which is called fruits of the Spirit. Let's go to that real quick. Galatians chapter 6. So like chapter 5. So Galatians 5 and verse 22. Galatians 5 and 22, it says, but the fruit of the Spirit, the virtue, is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law, right? So now when you are exercising or you're doing the labors of righteousness, you're doing the works, the good deeds, this is the fruit that comes from that, right? You learn to be meek. You learn to be prudent. You learn patience. You learn joy, right? You learn all of these things through your works in that righteousness, right? So that's why it's saying in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 4, better it is to have no children and to have virtue. So again, it's making it to a person who lacks, right? You may be lacking the normal things that the world desires, to have children, to have this surplus of money, to have jobs, to have, right? You may not have those things. You may lack in the carnal things, but if you are full of the spiritual things, it's better between the two, right? So go back to Wisdom of Solomon 4 and 1 again. Better it is to have no children and to have virtue, for the memorial thereof is immortal, because it is known with Yahweh and with men, right? It is known, right? Meaning the Lord accepted. It is accepted of the Most High. And your name will stand the test of time, right? Scriptures talk about having a good name, right? To have a good name that lasts generations. That's a beautiful thing. Some of us read these names and desire to be the regeneration of those spirits that we read about. Man, what if I'm Daniel? I wonder if I'm Joshua. I wonder if I'm Caleb. Like certain men that were able to be accepted by the Most High. We know the Lord deals with the regeneration, and we wonder if that could be us, right? All we're doing is desiring to have an immortal name, a memorial established for us based on our works. In order to do that, got to do the works. Verse 2, when it is present, men take example at it, right? When people observe those virtues, like, yo, man, I want to, like how Moses was a meek spirit. People observed him meek and all that his time. Like, yo, that's a beautiful spirit, man. I want to be like that, brother. I want to try to, covet those righteous gifts that he has on him. Right? I want to be more temperate, right? Sometimes I'm not, I don't discern from when I should bring forth information or when I should do certain things. I just think I should do it all. No, you got to be temperate. Everything is not expedient. I got to learn that, right? Through experience, I've learned, all right, you know what? Let me be a little bit more patient and then also temperate in bringing out this word or giving a person this thing here. Because if I give it before measure, it'll destroy it, right? Those are the virtues that the Lord is talking about. It says, when it is present, men take example at it, and when it is gone, they desire it, right? Person's in here, right? In here visiting or teaching or whatever, and then all of a sudden, they're gone. It's like, yo, man, that brother had a good spirit. Or that sister, I don't know what it was, her aura was just, dang, it was beautiful. They desire those spiritual gifts. It weareth a crown and triumph forever, having gotten the victory, striving for undefiled rewards, right? So you strive to reach those heights. You strive to get those gifts. And you got to be patient. You got to be disciplined and persistent in this truth. Verse 3. But the multiplying brood of the ungodly shall not thrive, nor take deep root from the bastard lips, nor lay any fast foundation. Right? So it's temporal. Sure, they're going to appear to sustain themselves for a while, but it's all going to go for naught, right? It's going to fastly go away. The Most High is not going to allow that to continue on throughout the generation. This is the last stop that those things is going to happen. Back on verse 2, you could write down. I forgot. You could write down 2 Maccabees chapter 2, verse 6. As far as for the memorial, right? Having a memorial or a good name. 2 Maccabees chapter 2. I'm sorry, 2 Maccabees chapter 6. Dyslexic today. 2 Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 31. Right? This is about the brother Eleazar, right? Who was there, present with them, and stood tall to not offend against the nation, right? This is what was said about him. 2 Maccabees 6:31. And thus this man, Eleazar, died, leaving his death for an example of a noble courage and a memorial of virtue, right? So he gave an example of what true virtue looks like, not only unto young men, but unto all his nation. So he left a memorial of a good name throughout Israel, right? Go to Matthew 26. Matthew 26. Verse 13. Matthew 26:13, it says, Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this, that this woman have done, be told for a memorial of her, right? So her virtue that caused for her to go anoint Yahushua's body, right, before his crucifixion, the spirit that she had on her, Yahushua wanted that to be left for a memorial of virtue for all to see. Same thing how it was left for Eleazar and other great men is the same thing for sisters, whether it be Mary, the sister of Martha and Lazarus, or Judith, or Deborah, or any of these other women, right? They now have a lasting memorial. That's what we desire. Same thing. All right, so now let's go back. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 4 and verse 4. It says, For though they flourish in branches for a time, yet standing not fast, they shall be shaken with the wind, and through the force of winds, they shall be rooted out, right? So though they may seem to prosper for a moment, they're going to be also shaken and broken. Even within Israel, like it tells you in Proverbs 12:26, right? The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduceth them. Even within Israel, right? They got to be broken off, right? They got to be taken off. They cannot go on this trip. They want to align themselves with the heathen. They want to align themselves with the Gentiles and follow pernicious ways. Then the Most High is going to destroy them with them. Right? They have to be separated from the righteous branch. It says in verse 5, the imperfect branches shall be broken off, their fruit unprofitable, not right to eat. Yeah, meat for nothing. For children begotten of unlawful beds are witnesses of wickedness against their parents in their trial, or the day of judgment. So even then, the Lord is going to now deal with them according to their works. What is that? 1 Corinthians, the first chapter, the third, no, 1 Corinthians, the third chapter, 1 Corinthians chapter 3. And 13. 1 Corinthians 3:13 says, every man's work shall be made manifest, for the day shall declare it, because it shall be revealed by fire, and the fire shall try every man's work of what sort it is. Right? So we're going to all go through different forms of chastisement, correction, adversity, right? And depending on how you deal, what you do, it's going to prove your work, or your if it's something that's profitable or rejected. Verse 14, if any man's work abide, which becomes accepted, which he have built thereupon, he shall receive a reward. If any man's work shall be burned, meaning it's not accepted, right, it's cast out, he shall suffer loss, meaning now he's going to have to lose something. He's going to be condemned based on his works. It says, but he himself shall be saved, meaning he's going, in the end, all Israel is going to be saved. But it says, yet so as by fire, meaning he's going to have to fulfill the judgment that you read about throughout the scriptures of the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone. And that comes from the stars falling from heaven, or the missiles that will hit the earth because of the Third World War, in line with the Most High's judgment. Right?
Spiritual fire or physical fire?
Spiritual fire or physical fire? Yes. So going back to Wisdom of Solomon. Also, Ecclesiasticus chapter 40, about these imperfect branches. Ecclesiasticus chapter 40 and verse 15. It says, the children of the ungodly shall not bring forth many branches, but are as unclean roots upon a hard rock. Right? So when Yahushua gave the parable about the parable of the sower, and how he talks about how your roots on stony ground, meaning they don't last, they don't fortify themselves, they only stand for a time. It's the same thing that's going to happen with the children of the ungodly. They shall not bring forth many branches, right? They're not going to, have generations of that wickedness that's going to continue on. So that's Ecclesiasticus chapter 40 and verse 15. I actually jump to the next chapter, 41st chapter, and the 5th verse. It says, the children of sinners are abominable children, and they that are conversant in the dwelling of the ungodly. The inheritance of sinners' children shall perish, and their posterity shall have a perpetual reproach. So now, how sometimes like to have, what do they call it, generational wealth? They want to pass things down from generation to generation, right? And a lot of it has been built upon rape, robbery, and murder, right? And then you have so many generations that's eating off of that and being born with a silver spoon, as they say. The Lord is going to cause that to stop, to cease.
You see these names all over the place, but now they're like throwing the names of streets and highways and federal buildings and big medical centers, research centers.
Yep.
If you go back to the forefathers, these different families like the DuPonts in Delaware, or like the Astors in New York, or you got that list. You see, these guys didn't have humble beginnings at all. These guys were like slumlords, brothel runners. I mean, take your pick. They say JD, the original Rockefeller, he was the premier snake oil salesman. He coined the term. By taking a look at what we did when it came to medicinal stuff and tried to corporatize it.
Right. It's the same thing doing like a few years back, coming out of 2020 with all the protests that was going on. There was a concerted effort to go and appease Jake by tearing down all the Confederate statues that was throughout different areas, the monuments, right? Because when you look at it, some of these men that's on horses, you'll see the thing that they did back then, right? We're so far removed, 60, 70, 100 years. We don't think about who those people are and what their statues are. But if you was there when they were present doing the things that they was doing, you be cursing that statue out like, yo, man, why you got this statue up here? But now once we were made aware and people started to realize these things, that America had a very dark past against us, they said, you know what, let's give them some crumbs, let's appease them. We're going to take down these statutes. We're going to change the names from this to that. We're going to give them Juneteenth. Give them Juneteenth. See, we took down the statues. We gave you Juneteenth, right? You have a holiday. You good now? You good? And Jake was like, yo, man, this is the bomb. We got Juneteenth off. It's a federal holiday. Really? Right? After all those hundreds of years and all that rape, robbery, murder, Juneteenth makes up for that. They took down the statue down at City Hall or over at the Civil Center, and now everything's good? Exactly. But the Lord is going to make that. Just like how Josiah went and started taking out and removing the ill name out, the Most High is going to do that with a perpetual judgment. So read in verse 7. The children will complain of an ungodly father because they shall be reproached for his sake. Woe be unto you, ungodly men, which have forsaken the law of the Most High power. For if you increase, it shall be to your destruction, right? So now you thinking you got it good. You made some money, got a good job, right? But I ain't got to do that law. That law ain't get me to where I'm at now. Following that book, following that Bible, right? I ain't need to do that to get where I'm at, right? The Lord said it's going to be to your destruction, right? It says, in verse 9, and if ye be born, ye shall be born to a curse. And if ye die, a curse shall be your portion. So like what they knew about in St. John 9, is like, damn, did he sin in a past life? Did he mess up? Because they knew that it says, and if ye be born, ye shall be born to a curse. The Most High don't have to get you now. He can get you later on, right? It says, and all that are of the earth shall turn to earth again. So the ungodly shall go from a curse to a destruction. The mourning of men is about their bodies, but an ill name of sinners shall be blotted out. No memorial for them, right? So the Lord has an eternal contempt for those, even within Israel, who forsake the right way. All right, let's go back. And it's hard for sometimes for people to see it now because you're living in the present, right? But in that day, then you're gonna now want mercy. Then you're gonna say, "Oh, Most High, I'm sorry. Most High, I'm sorry. I didn't know you was really dark skinned. I didn't know. I know now." Okay. Yeah, it's too late.
Even with the whole puppy, right? Situation, people just say, "Oh man, he wasn't smart. He should have been smarter." As far as the left-hand wickedness,
Right.
He should have been more clever. He should have had more bribes set up to people that have his back, different lawyers in the courts.
Yep.
We can see, like, imagine when that happens whole scale.
Mm-hmm. So reading on back in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4, we have verse, where did I stop? 6? Yeah, verse 6. It says, the children begotten of unlawful beds are witnesses of wickedness against their parents in their trial. So we just read that in Ecclesiasticus chapter 41, right? That goes in line with this, right? Their posterity is going to be a recompense unto their parents, meaning you are your forefathers, and those sins that they've done, you're going to be judged according to that, or because of them. Verse 7. But though the righteous be prevented with death, yet shall he be in rest. right? So it says, though the righteous be prevented with death, yet shall he be in rest. Meaning the Most High will even allow the righteous to die. Sometimes the Most High will remove a righteous person, meaning have them die early, so that they don't have to continue on and going through certain wicked things, right? Watch. It says, for honorable age is not that which standeth in length of time, nor that is measured by number of years. But wisdom is the gray hair unto men, and an unspotted life is old age. So we joke sometimes we get anointed, we got gray hairs on our head. And, if Kabar had, more hair on the top of his head, he probably had way more gray hairs than all of us. So we look at people who have a lot of gray hair as thinking that pertains to wisdom because they've been in the earth longer, right? They've been in the earth longer. They would have seen more, experienced more. So that man, old head, got to be full of wisdom, right? Elder, come teach me something. Come show me something. But that doesn't always mean that just because they've been here longer that they know more or have wisdom. They could have just been here in the earth and had a longer time to do wickedness, right? That's why during the time when Yahushua, when the women who was caught in adultery to be stoned, and Yahushua said, he that is without sin cast the first stone. And it says that from the oldest or the eldest to the youngest, they began to drop their rocks, right? I mean, the first ones to drop their rocks was the ones who've been here the longest, to have done much more sin. So just because you have a whole bunch of gray hairs, that means it could mean you had a lot of years of wickedness, man. A lot of years of a lot of undefiled works and acts and things that the Most High is not pleased with.
Things makes you think of like purchasing cars, like car insurance, right? Where they say like the more miles the car has, the greater the chances are of something going wrong on the inside, or something happening, an accident taking place. So yeah, it's like the longer you're in the earth, the greater chances you'll be tempted.
This is Job chapter 32. Job chapter 32 and verse 7. It says, I said, days should speak, and multitude of years should teach wisdom. But there is a spirit in man, and the inspiration of the Almighty giveth them understanding. Right? So it said they should speak, and multitude of years should teach wisdom. But wisdom really comes from the inspiration of the Most High, the application of doing his law, right? Then now it will teach. Because we know, as it says in verse 9, great men are not always wise, neither do the aged understand judgment, right? So people who are esteemed as great men, lifted up, they're not always wise, right? You're supposed to judge a man based on what he said, not on what he has. Got 18 cars, right? He got 8 Grammys, right? He's been in the White House several times. He's got the honorable medal pinned on him. He's a great man, not according to the Most High.
Oh man, the late Quincy Jones passed away, right?
Quincy Jones has passed away, right? Until Elder posted that clip of what's his name, Little Richard. Right. I mean, I had not. Now I'm pretty sure there's there's certain things or certain times where some men who on the surface, like Martin Luther King, where he was about integration and this, that, and the third, but toward that latter of his life, which most believe is what got him assassinated, he changed his tune and realized that he was, as he stated, going into a burning house. Then that change would now cause those who are watching to say, oh, we can't have him go and say those things. So we got to suppress that or take him out. Same thing with Little Richard, right? Little Richard was openly gay, right? Flaming and out there making music and everything else. But then later on, he realized that he was being seduced by the pleasures of the world that caused him to go and live those types of lifestyles. And he was speaking on it. Now,
Why that interview just came out of late, it wasn't out a long time because they didn't want it to come out that way, right? Nobody's speaking about that outwardly because then that will cause people to think and be like, really? Little Richard? He said that? I wonder if that's what really happened with me. Okay, I wasn't on drugs, but I was on a spiritual high with this stuff over here, and maybe they seduced me to, I got to start examining myself. I got to start examining the people that's around me and what are their intentions, right? Because you so cavalier, or we are so cavalier with things, meaning we really don't regard what it is. We're just so loose that we don't pay attention to certain things. And after a while, you see it after your fall or the perils that come. That's why, what is that? Amos 5:15, in their destruction, in their affliction, they shall seek me early. That's what happens. When you're heavily afflicted, then you start to realize and start examining and saying, what the heck's going on, man? Why am I going through this? Now, I was going to say something?
I think that Sister got it in the chat. We're in Job.
Oh, 32 verses 7 to 8. It's a lot. 32 verses 7 to 9. Right, so it says, great men are not always wise, neither do the aged understand judgment.
It's funny too, at camp, we usually stop the elder brothers. We kind of scold them on that, knowing the truth. I was like, brother, where you going? You don't have time? You're not interested? Like, share some wisdom to us. They always want to walk by and say, I already know that young blood. I already know all that young blood.
Right.
He said, okay, teach me something. You've been around the block, apparently. Show me. I don't got time for that. I said, see, where's the love of our elders? They're supposed to be pulling us under your wing, coaching us.
This is Ecclesiasticus. Maybe not Ecclesiasticus. Maybe. Hold on. Bear with me. Thought it was. No, that's not the one I wanted. It's a lot. No, that's not it. But that's a precept that I wanted. So I said 4. No, I meant to say 6. Ecclesiasticus 6. So in Ecclesiasticus chapter 6 and verse 18, it says, my son, gather instruction from thy youth up, so shalt thou find wisdom till thine old age, right? So even from your youth all the way up until your gray hairs or your hoary head, that's where wisdom will dwell. So you can either be a young individual and have wisdom. You could be an old individual, brother or sister, and have wisdom. But you want to gather it as much as you can for whenever you are in the spirit. A lot of times you'll hear some of us speak about our age in the manners of when you came into the truth, right? You speak about your age when you came into the truth. So somebody like, yo, I'm 6 years old. I'm 20 years old, 17 years old, which means I've been in this truth for that long. That's how those other years when I was in the world, I don't count that. And most high ain't counting that, right? When I came into the truth, that's how old I am, right? So you could be carnally 43 years old, but spiritually, you're 2 years old. You're a youth in this. You're a babe in this, right? You can have a sister who's 62 coming to this truth and been in it for 4 months. You can have a sister who's 24 years old and been in this for 6 years. She's an aged woman to that 60-year-old woman. She's an aged woman, like it talks about in Titus, because she now has gone through the Spirit. She's going through the scriptures. She understands the precepts, right? She's now going to be teaching her precepts, teaching her things about dietary laws and so forth and so on. I remember when I came into the truth, the brother who taught me was younger than me. I looked at in my mind in the spirit as if he was like two decades more than me, right? We only about 5, 6, 7 years apart. But in my mind, the way the word was coming, I was like, man, this guy's lifted up in my mind. Wow, right? The breakdowns and things was coming, man. I was like a 4-year-old, 5-year-old kid, like, yeah, give me more, give me more, give me more, right? Kid in the candy store. So age comes with wisdom, not just in years, is what it's showing. All right, so let's go back to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4. And we have verse.
Yeah, age should come with wisdom.
Age should, right? That's what it says in Job, but it doesn't. It's the Most High's desires that all Israel do exactly what we just read in Ecclesiastes. We attain righteous instructions from our youth up and walk with that until the day we die. But that's not the case. So it says in verse 9, but wisdom is a gray hair unto men, and an unspotted life is old age, right? Unspotted meaning less or no sins or transgressions attached to your name, right? No one can blame you for something. I caught you doing something, or I spotted you over there when you weren't supposed to be there, right? Somebody can now have a case where they can now call you out on different things. You want to be able to walk and nobody blame you for something, right? You want to try to be as unblameless as possible, or blameless. When I say unblameless, you want to try to be as blameless as possible in the sight of your brother. Verse 10, he pleased Yahweh and was beloved of him, so that living among sinners he was translated. Yeah, speedily was he taken away, lest that wickedness should alter his understanding or deceit beguile his soul, right? So sometimes the Most High conceal you, right? Just like how we read in Revelation, the 7th chapter, where Yahweh is commanding the angels to not hurt or harm the earth until we have sealed the servants of the saints of Israel. Now, you could be sealed at an age where you might be 30. And the Most High has said, you know what? He's gone through enough. He's sealed. He's good. Go get him. Go down there and get him. Bring him up. Right? And he's like, oh man, the brother died. But he's sealed. The Most High didn't want to leave him for whatever reason. The Most High didn't want to leave him or her here any longer. Right? If he would have been left longer, it said it could have been that it would have altered his thinking. I've already chosen him. Go get him. Right? And the Most High has the number on his board. Right? We be thinking that the number got to all be fulfilled in this generation. Right? That the 144,000 has to all be in these last days. So now 144,000, as far as the men, got to be born in the earth in these days. And the Most High is now picked. No, we already know Daniel was chosen already. We already know Job was chosen already. Right? So if these men are written in the scriptures, has already getting written, have their name written in the book of life, the Most High already sealed them. He's sealed already. Ain't got the spirit of Job don't got to prove himself. He's going to do the same things in these last days, but he was sealed. So now the Lord can have it where he can take your spirit because you fulfilled the mission. You'll come back in the next generation and then you'll still do the same thing, but you already sealed. You may not know that. Let me say may not. You don't know that. You don't know that you sealed, but the Most High know you sealed. Right? So you hear, Most High forbid, taken out with a heart attack, taken out by something, the brother fell asleep and didn't wake up. Right? It's like, Dad, brother fell asleep and wake up. Most I took him. Right? He's good. He's good. I don't want to. If I leave that brother, because your brothers, I ain't going to say the brother's name, but most of it, if I leave him here, man, there might be some other things that may happen. Knowing that brother. So you know what? Let me take him now. He's good enough. He's good. Others got to still stay the course. Right?
Well, you looked at me.
You looking at him, looking at me. You don't know. You don't know what's going on, right? Let's read that again. It says, verse 11. Yeah, speedily was he taken away, lest that wickedness should alter his understanding or deceit beguile his soul. Right? It's like Yahushua said that the days got to be shortened for the elect's sake. If not, there would be no flesh to be saved. The Most High just let this play out, right? Faith, hope would dwindle away. So for the elect's sake, he's shortening the days. He's fulfilling his promise sooner than what man thought, right? So that we don't get beguiled any longer throughout the many generations. Verse 12. That was 11.
I mean, Matthew 24.
That's Matthew's 24 and... This is the precept that I quoted. Matthew's 24.
It's 22, I think.
Come. Matthew's 24, 22. It's not saying that the elect will just easily be deceived. It's just saying that, the days of tribulation, if the Lord left it alone, there'd be nobody, everybody would be destroyed. So back in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 4 and verse 12 now. Yeah, the bewitching of naughtiness doth obscure things that are honest, and the wandering of concupiscence doth undermine the simple mind, right? Concupiscence is like sexual desires, right? Uncontrollable sexual desires, right? The bewitching of naughtiness doth obscure things that are honest. So we are tempted with all different types of signs, wonders, things that now tries to bewitch your thinking, alter your thinking, right? That's what in the book of Galatians, Paul said that to the church that was there. I think it's Galatians 3. Galatians, the third chapter. No, yes, third chapter, the first verse, where it says, O foolish Galatians, who have bewitched you, that ye should not obey the truth, before whose eyes Yahushua Mashiach, or the anointed Savior, have been evidently set forth, crucified among you. So who tricked you? Who deceived you? Who seduced you? Who persuaded you to think that you don't really have to keep that? You don't really got to do that. It's an option. It's okay. You don't really got to. It's not that deep. It's not that serious. Most High ain't going to be mad, right? Who tricked you into thinking that you could just, what are you doing? Right? Same thing happened between the righteous and the ungodly, as is being reported here in Wisdom of Solomon, right? Man will come with all different types of tricks of the trade through Satan to deceive you to follow after man's desires. So that's Galatians 3 and 1. Back here in Wisdom of Solomon 4 and 12. So it reads, it says, for the bewitching of naughtiness doth obscure things that are honest. What things are honest? The law. Who's supposed to be honest? The righteous. But the bewitching of naughtiness, that persuasion, can change or alter your view. And the wandering of concupiscence doth undermine the simple mind. Meaning now you're starting to drift into doing illicit sexual desires. And once you start getting, it's an infectious spirit, and it'll cause you that you cannot fulfill those desires, just keep going and just keep going. Right? Satan does a monstrous work with that. Verse 13, he being made perfect in a short time, fulfilled a long time, for his soul pleased the Lord. Therefore, hasted he to take him away from among the wicked. Check that out. It's like we said earlier. The Most High can see that you are sealed. You fulfilled your mission. You don't have to stay there in the land of the wicked any longer. Sometimes you be like, man, I want to live to be 120, right? Paul was like, man, I'd rather be with Yahushua. I'd rather be there. I really don't want to be down here with all this wickedness. I'd rather be at rest with Yahushua and the rest of the righteous angels and wait till the day. But necessity is laid upon me that I got to go preach this gospel. I got to try to save y'all souls. So I'm gonna do what has been asked of me to do. Same thing is on us. But the heart's desire, if you understood the third heaven, you don't really want to be continuously going through trials and tribulations if you didn't have to. But we don't understand fully life and death and how that weighs in with the Most High, right? Not to say that you're going to seek death, but it's something that the Most High has the control over to say, I'm going to take you, and it's not a bad thing, right? It says in verse 14 again, for his soul pleased the Lord, therefore hasted he to take him away from among the wicked. This the people saw and understood it not, neither laid they up this in their minds, that his grace and mercy is with his saints, and that he have respect unto his chosen, right? So a lot of people don't understand that. Their hope is in, like the world, like it tells you in 1 Thessalonians 4. We don't sorrow like other people sorrow. You should not sorrow like how other people sorrow when death comes or when someone is translated or not amongst us anymore. The Most High has grace and mercy to his saints, and he can show that in different forms and fashion, and still will reward you all at the end with the same token, right? All of us who walk this walk. So it says, this his grace and mercies with the saints, Psalms 148, verse 14, Psalms 50 and 5, and then he says he had respect unto his chosen. We know that the Lord doesn't have respect of persons. However, he does have respect of nations. You can write down Exodus chapter 2 and verse 25, where it says, and Yahweh looked upon the children of Israel, and Yahweh had respect unto them. The Lord gives us preferential treatment, right? He's biased when it pertains to Israel, right? Folks will say, nah, not God. God can't be biased. He can't show preference. He loves everybody the same. But he says, of the children of Israel, he has respect unto them. They different than everybody else. So reading on back in Wisdom of Solomon 4 and 16 now. It says, thus the righteous that is dead shall condemn the ungodly which are living, and youth that is soon perfected the many years of an old age, and youth that is soon perfected the many years and old age of the unrighteous. So it goes into like the parable Yahushua gave in the gospel where it talks about the people of Nineveh, and then also the queen of Sheba, that they can come back and condemn those of this generation because that generation was wicked. They should have been doing better. They should have been walking in the Most High's law. But now they can condemn you. It's the same thing that he's saying here, where it says, the righteous that is dead shall condemn the ungodly which are living, right? In the third heaven. Go to Revelations. Revelations. chapter 6. God, what was that? Revelation chapter 6. And verse 9, it says, Revelation 6 and 9, and when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they held, right? So now it says the souls of the ungodly, which were slain, which were killed, right? Keeping the commandments of the Most High, right? And for the testimony which they held. It says, and they cried with a loud voice, saying, how long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? Those that dwell on the earth are the living, right? These are the ones that have now been translated already. They are now condemning the ungodly and asking the Most High, when is he going to judge them that still on the earth for all their transgressions? Avenge our death, that they have slain us for teaching your word, right? For following in your way. When will you go and condemn them? So let's go back to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4 and 16 again. It says, thus the righteous that is dead shall condemn the ungodly which are living, and youth that is soon perfected, the many years and old age of the righteous, right? So the youth will also be condemning the so-called great man that has no wisdom. He will also do that to them. For they shall see the end of the wise and shall not understand what Yahweh and his council have decreed of him, and to what end the Lord has set him in safety, right? So the ungodly are going to see at the last trump the reward that was set in store for the righteous. Most of them are not going to regard it. They're not going to consider. They're just thinking we out here doing some nonsense, wearing funny clothes. What's these strings y'all got hanging off y'all clothes, man? The heck? They got some, what is that? They got some Balmain, whatever. Go get you a Balmain hoodie, man. What you wearing? Right? Clowning you. What are those? They start doing all these things. They don't have an idea of what the Most High reward is going to be for the righteous. Right? Yes. What are you talking about? You doing what? Pearl, what? Man, get out of here with that nonsense, man. Who wrote that book? Right? Say all these slanders, all these things, but they're going to see it in due time. Mm-hmm.
Power Rangers. We got some Power Rangers out here. We got all types of stuff.
Verse 18, it says, they shall see him and despise him, but Yahweh shall laugh them to scorn, and they shall hereafter be a vile carcass and a reproach among the dead forevermore. Right? So that's it's going to be a 180. Right now, we're going through all the afflictions, the slander, a gazing stock, laughing stock, a curse to the people. But the Most High is going to now turn that recompense on all the ungodly's head. Verse 19, for he shall rend them and cast them down headlong, that they shall be speechless, and he shall shake them from the foundation, and they shall be utterly laid waste and be in sorrow, and their memorial shall perish. Right? Like we said earlier, a lot of people have names on street signs and on buildings and on that wing of the college, that wing of the gymnasium, all these different names. All that's going to be erased, eradicated, destroyed. Their name will not be left for a memorial anymore. Verse 20, and when they cast up the accounts of their sins, they shall come with fear, and their own iniquities shall convince them to their face. Right? So like we said, the day of judgment, when you read in the Revelations, it talks about the books being open, and the book of the law of the book of life shall be open as well. It's going to judge everyone according to their sins, right? And it's going to, condemn them to their face, right? When they thought that they was doing right, even they was corrected, the Lord's going to say, Kahan told you. You don't remember when you gave him the middle finger? You don't remember when you spit at the sign? You don't remember that? Right? You don't remember when you was praying and cursing him out? I heard it. Right? Most High is going to now open up all the accounts and then now lay it before you. It's like going and shoplifting and thinking that there's no cameras, and all of a sudden you up there, I ain't take nothing. Well, hold on, look at this. You're like, dang, you recorded that? I didn't know there was no cameras looking at me. Yes, you caught right here in 4K, taking that off the shelf and putting it in your pants. What are you talking? What do you got to say for yourself now? Speechless. Right? That's what it says there. They're going to be speechless in that day. Nothing to say.
You read Psalms 49:11 already?
I did not. You reading that?
Sure.
Okay. Psalms 49:11.
Psalms 49:11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own name.
Right. Yeah, even though these names is here now, they think it's going to go on forever. Forever. Yes.
People
It's gonna
being
get-
burned out in
Huh?
the forest. Not the people that's being burned out in the forest.
No, well, I mean, no, they do, because I seen it in the news in Jersey. Right now, it's 4 different forest fires going on in different locations in Jersey.
Right.
So there was an elder gentleman, an elder Edomite that was there, and he was saying that his house got burnt down, but it was a generational house that he had throughout his family, and that was expected to get passed down to his grandsons, and he had all different types of mementos and memorials and things that have been passed down to him.
Right.
All of that got burnt up. So now, as he's describing, he's like, "Yeah, I thought, I thought this was just going to go on where I was going to have these things to pass down to my generations.
Right.
Now it's all gone." But that's a light thing in comparison to what the judgment is, right? Because sure, your houses and things, you may have things and mementos that's going to get burnt up, or you thought you was going to, you built a house that was going to last for a long time. But this is more going into the establishment of Babylon and the names of those wicked doers that have now garnered fame. They're going to be stamped to smithereens, blown up. And then the new crop, the new righteous names is going to be now what's solidified in the earth. Right? You're not going to hear about Napoleon and all these other guys that have names that's recorded in history that we learn about in the school systems. Right? We ain't going to have that no more. Right? They're going to be hearing about like Rahab the harlot when she was like, hey, we heard about you and your God. Right? They're going to be now having those things written down. Let me tell you about what the Jews did during the times of the modern day Babylons, right? And writing history about what events transpired and took place. Because then that's going to be the new thing. The same thing we went through it through our times, they're going to go through it and they're going to hear about our names, but they're going to be more righteous than wicked. That's the reward. That's part of the promise. There's many promises that the Most High has, right? It's not one, there's several different promises and rewards that the Lord is going to have in store. Some written and some that's not written. Right?
Well, what can we say? What happened over there in Jersey, the forest fires?
Part of the plagues?
Yeah.
Yes.
The part where he said, you will rebuild, but I will throw down.
Part of it, yes. Because like he just read, the inward thoughts that their stuff is going to go on forever. Right? That it's not going to end. But the Lord says, yeah, what you thought was going to have a perpetual name, the Lord is going to Take it away. All right. Ooh, I'm just about to make it. Just about to make it. All right. So to try to get under a watch, and we're just about there. So next week for the Sabbath service, we're going to be in 2 Kings chapters 23 and 24. Is that correct? I think it's 23, 24, 2 Kings. Hold on, let me look. Yeah, 2 Kings 23, 24 for the Sabbath service. I said I was going to read this last night. I'm going to read this. I wanted to read it earlier. 2 Ezra chapter 14. We read this in the class last night, but it's pertinent for us to keep this etched in our minds in the coming months, right? In 2 Ezra chapter 14 and verse 13, it says, "Now therefore set thine house in order and reprove thy people, comfort such of them as be in trouble, and now renounce corruption," right? Because we see already outside of the election, we already see what's going on. And then you have, a reoccurrence of a person who's coming back in office, and we saw what he was before, and what's going on in the earth right now with the two major wars that's happening. It says, "Now therefore set thine house in order," spiritual house as well as your household, as well as the house of Israel. Set all of that in order, and reprove thy people, comfort such as be in trouble, and now renounce corruption or sin. Let go from thee mortal thoughts, cast away the burden of men, put off now the weak nature. Right? You can't be fearful, can't be afraid, slothful. Right? That's what it goes into. It's talking about the weak nature. You got to stand strong, firm, and trust more in the Most High in these last days. Verse 15, "And set aside the thoughts that are most heavy unto thee, and haste thee to flee from these times." The thought that are most heavy unto you are your carnally, worldly concerns. Oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to eat? What am I going to... Yahushua and Most High said, don't worry about that. I got you. I got you if you got me. If you got me through the will, I will support you. Right? So those things that's most heavy unto you, Christ said, cast your burdens upon him. Right? Cast your burdens upon him. And then continue to do the work. Verse 16, "For yet greater evils than these, than those which thou hast seen happen, shall be done thereafter." So we ain't seen, even right now, we haven't seen much yet. It's going to get worse. So prepare your mind, prepare your household, and help and prepare and raise the nation in these last days. All right. So I just wanted to end off with that. Make sure we tend to. I didn't see. I think the past couple of weeks, we had some folks joining class. They didn't join, but for those who do want to have conversations about different topics, perspectives, understanding, precepts, there's always classes Tuesdays and Fridays, Most High's will, from 7 to 10 that you can invite brothers and sisters. Even for those of us who are already a nation, if you have questions about breakdowns or understandings that was brought forth, that is the best time to do it. Tuesdays and Fridays, 7 to 10. You can dial into the teleconference line, 667-770-1085 with the PIN code 521455. Preferably, we rather most folks join in live on profitabletalks.com, whether on your cell phone, your laptop, your iPad, anything that has a camera. You can dial in on Profitable Talks to those Tuesday and Friday night classes, and we all then can break bread spiritually during that time. And for those who enjoy this work, like the word, the knowledge that's coming out, the breakdowns, please donate to the Most High via HYK, right? Again, I say donate to the Most High. You're not donating to Samak. You're not donating. You're donating to the Most High via HYK, because it is this establishment, this structure that allows us to bring forth His truth. As far as for the live streams, you know, have a sanctuary, a place that we can now congregate and then have different resources and things to bring out materials to further this word. So if you want to aid in that through donations, you can send a check or money order to Ha Yasharala Kanaz, and that's Ha, the Yasharala Israel Kanaz congregation, right? It's like Spanish where the adjective goes after the noun in Hebrew, but it's Ha Yasharala Kanaz, the congregation of Israel, on your check or money order, and then the address 3826B Germantown Avenue, Philadelphia, PA 19140. If you are more digital, right, you like to do things online, you can either do PayPal or Zelle, paypal.me/HYK12, or through Zelle, the telephone number there, or the number for the Zelle account is 646-620-7378, right? That's for any tithes, any donations, free will offerings, whatever it may be. However your spirit feels compelled to want to donate, you could use any of those three different mediums, all right? And as always, you know, we say like and share. Go back if you missed anything. You know, I go back and I check out certain videos, check out other videos from different camps on certain topics, to see, you know, the brothers, especially that's like-minded like us, to see how they're bringing out this truth, and may also add further to what we're dealing with here. So again, we give all praise, honor, and glory for the Most High giving us this time, a little over 3 hours to bring forth this truth. It would have, you know, been longer, but like I said, we want to at least give time to get a little nourishment, and then we go out to camp while the sun is still up on the Sabbath day to teach this truth. So again, Shah Shabbat, which means in Hebrew, happy Sabbath. Most High's will, everybody has a peaceful, restful, spiritual, remaining Sabbath day. And Lord's will, we'll hear or see each other during the Tuesday night, Friday night classes. And just stay tuned for the closing prayers that we send to the Lord. And we'll close out today's Sabbath service. All right. So I say again, Shalom, and stay tuned. Barakatha Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nethalanawa, Parya Hagapin, Dawada Amun, La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ath Yasha Allah. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. So be it. Thank you. So be it to Yahweh in the name of Yahweh Shai with Israel. A Madra upon you, Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem for the closing prayers. Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Baba Kushai, Shemai, Lanawa, Aitha, Yum Yun, Aitha, Shalat, Mayaka Allah, Waha Alahayim, Tazwadakim, La, Shema Ayah, Barak, Rapah, Magun, Wahakaziyak, Bunyan, Yasha Allah, Washalat, Lanawa, Rabium, Kakama, Rabium, the Ith,
Rabium, Bayana, Rabium, Sabalunwa, Rabium, Amawan, Rabium, Aqua, Rabium, Ahabium, Rabium, Hagana, Rakhanaya, Wasalat, Kol, Katayamnawa, Lahaakim, Waakiwa, Wayasha'ala, Thamyad, Waiwalam, Bahasham, Yahawashah, Thawada, Aman. English translation. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, please listen to us now, right now. Send Michael and the righteous powers or angels to watch over, bless, heal, protect, and make strong the children of Israel. And send to us much wisdom, much knowledge, much understanding, much patience, much faith, much brotherhood, much love, much spiritual protection, and forgive all our sins for the brothers and sisters in Israel, always and forever, in the name of Yahweh Shai. Thank you, so be it. Four corners prayer. Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Barak Nawa, Wayasha'Allah, Wabat Yasaparim, Shema, Yasharallah, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Akhay. Again, English translation. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, bless us and Israel in the house of books or different schools and camps. In Deuteronomy 6:4, hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one power. With that, again, we say, Shah Shabbat, happy Sabbath, Shalom, Yasha Allah, peace and blessings, brothers and sisters. Shalom.
Shalom. Shalom. Shalom.